Live stream for November 11th, 2016, and we are joined by Mr. Willie Howe. You guys should see him in the upper corner right above me here. We'll do like the Brady Bunch thing. Look, I can do this and point at you.
I'm still having problems finding the live stream, Chris.
Are you? Well, let's see. I think it's working. Oh, I see it. It is live. I see the screen on there, and it actually popped in live a little bit late, so I think it missed my introduction, but that's okay. I'll do the introduction again. Okay, take two. Ready? You can always do multiple takes in a live stream. That's the one rule of live streaming. All right, here we go. Ready? Okay. Welcome to Crosstalk Solutions. My name's Chris, and this is the live stream for November 11th, 2016. I'm glad you guys are all here. Actually, I don't see anyone here yet.
There's Ian, and hey, Brandon's here. Hey, Brandon.
Oh, good. All right. Well, anyways, this is the live stream. I am joined by Mr. Willie Howe. He should be right above my head here. If you guys have any trouble seeing the screen, if you have any trouble hearing the audio, either the desktop audio, you can't hear Willie, you can't hear me, anything like that, just let me know. And I'm also going to check out my chat here. Oh, yeah, 18 watching. Chat test. If you guys can see that chat, let me know. Or if you can't see that chat, let me know. Alright, I'm going to bring Willie back. Sorry, Willie, I moved you down for a second there.
I'm used to that.
Okay, so I did test the chat. But you know, it's interesting, because you've never done a YouTube live stream before, right?
Never.
So it's interesting, and I don't recall, there was a weird thing that I had at one point where like the chats weren't showing up and I had to go somewhere else to see them or something like that, and I don't remember exactly what that was. In fact, that might be what's happening here. So I'll wait a couple minutes, but if I don't see anyone else say anything in the chat, then I'm going to try to get that up, because we have to have the chat so I can see people's questions. Now, what about you? Do you see the live stream? Do you see it up and running?
Oh man, I see all kinds of our fans out there.
Do you see people talking in chat?
Yeah, Belgium. Jason just said chat works.
Okay, then I am in the wrong place. Give me 1 second here. Dashboard. Let me make sure I don't. Whoa, geez. Oh my gosh. Oh, sorry.
Somebody just said that I'm much louder than Chris. That's probably I yell all the time. I'm just kidding. It's a joke.
I don't know if I have the ability to like turn it down. Alright, so let's see. You should see Willie. I gotta go somewhere else, I think, for my chat to show up on the screen. Where do I go for that? Sorry, guys. We are consummate professionals here. Alright, Ubiquiti live stream. Alright, let's see if I can click here. Do I see the chat here? Whoa, whoa. No, that's not it. Oh, my gosh. I don't even know if I'm subscribed to my own channel. Let's see. If I click on Crosstalk, sorry guys, bear with us for 1 second. This live streaming stuff is always goofy. If I were a gamer, I'd just do it on Twitch instead.
Let's see. Oh, that muted me. Let's see. Maybe I should just whisper the whole time. Does that work?
Oh boy. Subscriptions. No, that's not it. Where do I find my actual live stream? Well, here's the deal, though.
Here, let me send you the link, Chris.
Oh, okay. For anyone who is watching the live stream, we're going to be talking about Ubiquiti today. Thanks, Willie. Let me open that up. Click. And click. There we go. I'm going to be talking about you. Whoa, hey, let me mute it out so it doesn't blow everyone's ears away. Close that down and bring this back over. Alright, I think that's a little bit better. There we go. Hey, look at that. Technology. Now we can see the chat. Now we can see Willie. And now we can see the UniFi stuff. Hey, Venezuela checking in. All right.
There's Pakistan.
Wow, Ecuador. Gosh, thank you guys for joining.
Absolutely.
You guys, you're gonna have to keep an eye on that, Willie, because
Oh,
You have to keep an eye on that because I can't really see how many people are in there or anything. So,
All right. I just want to clarify something for David. Next room over is where the porn is.
beyond that brick wall. All right. Wow, look at all these different people. It looked better when Willie was covered up. What do you think about that?
Thanks, Chad.
All right, so we're going to get started. We don't really have much of an agenda for you guys today, although I think what I'd like to do is bring up that UniFi Switch 8 video that I did was it last week? No, I guess it was earlier this week. Man, it's been a long week, huh?
Oof, you're telling me.
I'm going to bring up hey, you're off today, man. This is your vacation day. This is my work day.
Depends who you ask. I'm off every day.
Yeah. But I'm going to bring up that video, and I think we're going to go through some of the questions that people asked. So feel free to ask questions about Ubiquiti stuff. Like I said, you've got Willie Hahn, who's an expert in Ubiquiti stuff. I'm a really good power user of Ubiquiti. That's what I consider myself, right? So just ask your questions in the chat, and we're also going to go through some of the questions on the actual comment section of that video. So I do have the UniFi switch sitting right here next to me. I did want to show you guys something. I don't know if this will show up on the video or not, but I have this Belkin. It's called an Insight. What was it called? We literally just brought it up on the screen. It was called like an Insight something or other. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'll try to make it a little bit not so reflective.
Yeah, the Conserve Insight.
Conserve Insight. So this is the Belkin Conserve Insight. And this device, basically you plug it into the power outlet and then you plug a device into this device, and it shows you not only the wattage that it's pulling at any given moment, but it also shows you your average cost for that device over the course of a year. So right now, I've got it plugged into the UniFi Switch 8, and I've got the only two things I have plugged into it are a phone and this UAP AC Pro sitting right behind me. And right now, if you saw on the screen there a second ago, that was pulling about 17 watts. Okay, so just so you guys know, this is the UniFi Switch 150 watt. It's capable of 150 watts with just one phone and one access point plus the power consumption of the actual switch itself. You are looking for you're looking at about 17 watts on that device. Because I know there was some question about the power consumption and that sort of stuff. Willie, what do you see as far as like PoE devices that pull the most power? Because right now, according to UniFi, you can see on my screen, port 1, which is the access point, is at 4.15 watts, and port 7, which is this Yealink phone right here, is at 1.3 watts. Right, so we're very well underneath the 150 watts that this thing is capable of.
Yeah, IP phones, the devices that I use every day that draw the most are Toshiba, and they draw quite a bit. I would have to log into a switch, but I know that I think we burned a switch up by running Toshiba phones on all 24 ports PoE. It's the only switch that I had that died, and that was the only thing that was different, is that we populated every port with auto PoE, and the switch died a fiery death.
Well, that's not good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, somebody in the comments says old Cisco phones. Old Cisco phones do suck power, and that's Steven. Is that Whiting or Whitting? But I don't know if you remember this from back in the day, but when PoE first started coming out, Cisco actually didn't get on board with the standard, and so Cisco phones would only work with Cisco switches, and so it was kind of a cluster.
I'm seeing some familiar faces in the comments here. Irfan, thank you for coming. Sean Woods, thank you for coming. Hector, thank you for coming. Hector, I know him from my YouTube comments because he actually helps out other people quite a bit. He'll respond to people's questions and all that sort of good stuff. Oh, Brandon's here too. Oh, you already said Brandon's here. Hey, Brandon, how's it going? Brandon works with Crosstalk, just so you guys all know. If you ever hire us for WISP stuff, you know, the point-to-point bridges and that sort of stuff, that's all Brandon, and he is awesome at that kind of stuff. So say hi, Brandon.
Hey, while we're talking to Brandon, I've got a I don't know if you guys can see this. There's a G3 camera, but what I've got here, Brandon, if you can hear me, just say something in the chat. But I don't know how many people have the new Light Beam AC deployed. Anybody have these?
You have to wait a while. There's about a 20-second delay, so if you ask a question, you got to wait about 20 seconds before you get a response.
Well, it's better. Usually I get no responses, so 20 seconds is I'm doing good. Okay,
yes. There you go.
Yeah. So, Chris, have you and Brandon deployed any of these yet?
I haven't, but I'm sure Brandon's probably gotten his hands on them.
Yes, he's got several. So they're pretty nice, but one comment that I made is that I don't know if people have noticed the new Ubiquiti stuff is like all bubbly, like all rounded, and I don't know what everybody thinks about that. I'd like to know, just from an aesthetic standpoint, what people think.
I like them. So the one thing, I guess, well, just speaking to the cameras specifically, I've deployed a bunch of the G3 cameras at this point, and I really, really like the G3, the version 3 camera over the version 2, the standard, UVC version 2. I don't mind that it's bulbous, but I like that it's a lot smaller. It's better camera, it's 1080, and it's just smaller. So that's always nice. Which, especially in a security camera environment, I guess there's something to be said for making your cameras very noticeable. You can argue either way. Like if a camera's very noticeable, people are going to notice it, and then they're less likely to do something that they wouldn't want to get caught on camera doing, right? Versus if it's kind of a hidden camera, you'll catch people doing stuff when they don't know they're on camera. So again, there's probably an argument either way, but I kind of like the smaller stuff. Brian, he asked, is there any more luck with the UniFi Amplify HD? I have not even taken it out of the box again since I did that last video, and that's been now over a month. So no, nothing new on the Amplify, though I do hope to get to it at some point. Here, I'll put it in the background.
Do you want to sell that, Chris, or do you want me to send it over here and I can shoot it for you?
I got my own shotgun. I don't need you to shoot it for me, but no. And I'm not going to shoot it, as a matter of fact. I do want to continue testing it. When I did that video, there were so many comments about things that I screwed up, right? Things that I should have done. So yeah, I will redo a video at some point, though. It's just everything's time permitting.
Right.
Okay, so really quickly here, while we've got a little bit, I don't want to get too far into the live stream without talking about our live stream contest that I had promoted the other day in my promo video. I guess it was yesterday. Okay, so we do have a couple of prizes that we're giving away. Sorry, guys, this is just US-based. People only can win the prizes, not for any other reason than I don't want to spend a lot of money on shipping. Okay, so you can blame me for that.
Yeah, and I got to be on board with that. I'm right there with you. Christmas is coming, man.
That's right. So we have a few prizes. Willie, why don't you start off with what you're going to give away?
So originally I was going to give away a clock that I made out of a defunct Gen 1 AC, but in recent days I've been talking with Chris, talking with some of my clients on the side, and when I first got into the UniFi gear, I bought some UAP LRs, and I know I saw somebody, Tim Bears, out there in the crowd, and he's got some of these, and I give him a hard time. I am going to give this away. This is the last UAP LR that I have. This is Gen 1. Now, this is feature frozen, I believe, at this point. If somebody knows otherwise, please put it in the comments. It's never been adopted to a controller. It does have all the mounting gear, the PoE adapter. It is not under warranty because I literally bought this thing like 4 years ago and then never used it. And the reason the LR used properly is a fantastic product. Don't get me wrong. But what I see a lot of times happens with these is people don't understand what the LR means. And in RF design, and Brandon can hop in on this. And I must be talking too loud. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. What I see a lot with these is people don't understand that this can talk a lot further than their end devices. And then so you get into what's called a near far, where your device can see the signal from this guy, but you can't talk back to it. So then people get upset because they think there's something wrong, and that's totally not the case. So I am going to give this away, and I will help you configure it if you're the one who wins it. But it is not under warranty, so if you blow it up, you can't get it replaced.
Yeah, you can just use it as a disc golf like I do, or you can use it as a target practice if you want, or you can take Willie's offer on helping you set it up. So I have a couple prizes as well. My prizes were donated generously by Sangoma. And Willie, while I'm talking here, why don't you see if there's any way that you can pop in and turn down the gain on your microphone? There should be a setting for that, like how in the Windows system tray or something. I don't know. I don't support Windows that much. So I've got two things. I've got these power banks. So these are the E4 Free PBX branded power banks. Again, these are just for your cell phone. If you're out and about and you don't have a place to plug in your cell phone, but you run out of battery, you can use this to get it charged up. I also have some free PBX t-shirts. And I know this is a Ubiquiti live stream, but I'm giving away free PBX stuff because that's what I've got to give away. And as they teach my daughter in preschool, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit.
I love that saying.
Here's the red one here. So red shirt or blue shirt. So if you call in to the contest and you win, you can pick the UAP that Willie's giving away, or you can pick the red shirt or blue shirt package. And I suspect that people are going to take the access point first and then go for the other stuff. Okay, so how do you...
Chris?
Yes, go ahead.
Real quick, does my mic sound better?
Oh, it sounded good to me the whole time, so I don't know. It's something to do with the live stream, so you'll have to ask the people out there. But
we'll wait to see if we get some comments. Sorry for interrupting you.
That's okay. What's the next thing? Oh, rules of the contest. So the contest is a 5-question quiz contest. I'm gonna put a phone number up on the screen in just a minute here, and you guys can call that phone number. And basically, it will go through the questions. Now, these questions are fairly easy. They are all Ubiquiti related. And the first people that get through the questions and answer them all correctly are going to end up in a queue. That queue is going to ring this phone right here on my desk. Okay? So what we'll do is I'll put the phone number up, and the first person that gets through gets their first pick of prizes, and then the second person, and then the third person, and then we will shut it down. We'll shut it down from there. So, if you guys are ready, let me put up the phone number to dial in. There you go. There's the number. This is not a toll-free number, so keep that in mind. And also, again, this is not for U.S. people. You're certainly welcome to call through and get through on the contest, but if you're not based out of the U.S., you don't win a prize, and I'm very sorry about that. So, I guess we'll just have to go through. Hey, don't put Lenny to answer the line. That's funny. Oh, yeah, it says no Google cheating, which, by the way, you only have 20 seconds to answer each question. So, I don't think there's going to be a lot of time to do any Google cheating. I did that on purpose. But if you pick the wrong answer, or if you time out after 20 seconds, it's going to dump you out and hang up on you. So, okay, so let's see. What else? I guess we'll wait and see if anyone actually makes it through. It's a decently long contest. It probably takes 2 to 3 minutes to, for everyone to get through. I bet Brandon's dialing in right now. He knows all the Ubiquiti stuff. I told him he's fine if he wants to try to win.
So, we're not getting a lot of chatter. So real quick, I want to show something off. I don't know if you saw the video, Chris, that I did, and I just made a little bit of an intro to this device. I called it my Ubiquiti lipstick. And you're going to hear me make comments about the products because I don't know, it's kind of like shampoo bottles. They seem to be getting more and more rounded and curved, and I'm like, wondering what the target audience of these devices are. But this is an inline PoE adapter, and what it does is you can go from a Juniper PoE switch, Cisco, Brocade, Dell, where that has a standard PoE output, and you plug one end into this, and then this other end goes to the Ubiquiti access point, and that could be a UAP, it could be one of the Air Max devices, and it will knock that standard PoE down to the 24 volt passive. So I don't know if you've got your hands on any of these yet, but kind of useful if the folks that have the switches don't have Ubiquiti or passive PoE switches.
Right. Well, I see a lot of people calling in. I saw 38 active calls, I think.
That is awesome.
Let's see, 28 active calls right now. Let's see.
And can you give us a little bit of an idea, Chris, of what the horsepower is of the phone system that's running this contest?
This is a very, very powerful phone system. So this is actually the phone system running this. Oh, there we go. First winner. Look at that. All right, let me pick this up. Hello. Check. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hey, there we go. Is this Brad?
Yeah.
All right, I got Brad from West Tech. I should probably write these down. Anyone, by the way, who is sitting in the queue, just wait, and as soon as I'm done with Brad, I will pick up your call. Brad, how you doing? Welcome and congratulations.
Pretty good, thank you.
I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's going to be pretty soft. I'll hold the phone up a little closer to the microphone.
Congrats, Brad.
Yeah, congrats, Brad. What prize would you like?
My first one here,
You are the first one, yes.
I guess we can do one of those free PBS t-shirts.
All right, excellent. You want the red or the blue?
I'll do blue.
All right, I'm going to write this down. Now, this is an extra large t-shirt. It's the only sizes I have because it's the only sizes that were sent to me.
Cool.
Brad. And let me write down West Tech. All right. Well, congratulations, man. Tell you what, if you can, just send me an email at info@crosstalksolutions.com with your address, and I will get this out to you, okay?
Cool, appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. We're going to end the call, and then we'll wait for the next person to come through.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, bye now. There we go.
Busting through.
There we go. Another New York winner. Hello. This is Chris. You are on the live stream.
Hey, Chris, it's Brian from New York. How are you?
Good, Brian. How's it going, man?
Great. Just recently found your channel, so it's awesome. Thanks.
Good stuff. Well, you are the second one to come through. So that means, let's see, Brad took the blue shirt. That means you got your choice of a red t-shirt with the power bank or the access point that Willie's giving away.
I think I got to go with the access point.
All right, there you go. And I'm sorry, your name again was?
Brian.
All right, Brian. All
Hey,
right,
Brian.
Well, let's see, access point.
If you watch the chat window, I'm going to go ahead and put my email address in. If you could shoot me your details, I'll get this thing shipped out to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, well, appreciate it, man. Like I said, or you can also email info@crosstalksolutions, and I'll get that over as well.
Awesome. I just saw the email come through.
Awesome. All right, well, I will. We're going to hang up, and we're going to get the last person who gets the red t-shirt.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Bye now.
Okay, bye.
There we go. Alvin, Texas, you're on the line.
How's it going? It's John.
John, how's it going? You won the last prize.
I'll take it.
All right, cool,
red
man.
shirt?
Red shirt, yes, sir, and the power bank. I'll tell you what, let's see. You know what? I've got actually 2 more of these power banks, man. There's other people that are still buzzing through. I think I'm going to give away 2 more power banks, and I'll just it's no t-shirt involved, but I'll just give away the power banks directly. So, John, do me a favor. Send a email to info@crosstalksolutions.com. I've got you written down as number 3 with the red shirt, so just remind me of that in the email, and I will send that out. Just make sure you put your address in there.
I'll do it now. Thank you much.
All right.
Enjoy the channel.
Yeah, congrats. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Let's see if we
Man, that is awesome, Chris. These guys burned right through this.
Yeah, they really did. I didn't expect. I should have made the questions harder. Here we go. Hello.
Oh, hi. I
Huh?
didn't really expect to get through.
Who is
I'm
this?
from the U.S., so this is Nick from the Netherlands.
Nick from the
I'm not from
Netherlands.
The US, I'm just here to participate.
All right. Well, hey, you win a participation award.
Yay! That's what I'm here for.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for checking in, man.
All right.
All right. Bye now.
No problem. Have a good one. Bye.
Another one. Here we go. Hello. You're on with Willie and Chris.
Hey, Chris, how you doing? This is Mo.
Mo, how you doing? Where are you from, Mo?
Good. I'm from Florida. I contacted you a few times here and there before. I'm with Spark House Consulting.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, I don't know if you heard on the stream. You might have been on the call, but I'm going to give away an extra couple power banks. So if you send me an email at info@crosstalksolutions.com, I will send you one of those power banks.
I certainly will. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, let's get one more.
This is awesome.
Yeah. Oh, did I hang up on someone? I don't think I did. Let's see. There should be. There we go. Last one. Schurz, Georgia. Suarez, Georgia? No.
No, calling from St. Louis.
St. Louis. Oh, well, I don't know who that was then. Hey, what's your name?
My name's Jeff.
Joe?
Jeff.
Oh, Jeff. Jeff.
I'll say hi, Chris, and hi, Willie. I watch you guys.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, well, I
Thanks,
guess you are the last winner. So you are the...
Awesome.
I'm going to get you a power bank. If you just send an email to info@crosstalksolutions.com with your address, I will shoot that out to you.
That would be sweet. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate the live stream.
No problem. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, Chris, I saw a couple questions.
Hang on a second. I gotta shut this thing down. So whomever is left in the queue, I'm sorry, but you're getting hung up on. There we go. Sorry, I shut down Asterisk. All right, go ahead, Willie. I'm gonna bring down this number.
So I saw a couple questions about UniFi switch versus EdgeSwitch.
Real quick, and I do want to get into that, but real quick before we get too far off of the contest, so I guess you guys found out, and I will put Lenny now, by the way. In fact, let me do that. Free PBX admin, inbound routes. So for those of you who, could not connect. Hang on, I got to start Asterisk again. For those of you guys who found out, there was one chance to get through per caller ID, okay? And then I took your caller ID if you didn't get through, or if you timed out, or if you got a question wrong, and then you were redirected to Lenny the next time that you started in. So next time you called in. So sorry about that, but that was just my little me having fun. So.
Yeah, and I called that thing last night, and I could sit there and listen to that thing for hours. It's hilarious, man.
It's all right. So I'm going to change this inbound route on the phone number over to Lenny. So anyone who's still trying to call in, let's see. Let's go back here. We're going to go to miscellaneous destinations. Oh, no. Custom destinations? Custom destinations. And Lenny. There we go. Okay. So anyone who calls that number from here on out, you're going to get Lenny. And we are now shut down. I should have probably mentioned, by the way, all those calls were being recorded. So if you did have a conversation with Lenny, I will have a good time later with that. All right, sorry, Willie, go ahead. And thank you guys all the way for thanks everyone for participating in the contest. You look at my graph here; it looks like, whoops, where's my dashboard? So look at this. Boom, look at that spike. It jumped up to 34 active calls right when we started the contest. So that's pretty amazing. Unbelievable. How many people are on the stream right now?
144.
Holy mackerel. Jeez. All right. Well, I don't even know if I know 144 people in real life.
I don't think I do either. You know, on Monday I purged my Facebook. I got rid of 246 people the day before on Monday.
Yeah,
and
I stopped doing. I don't know what you guys feel about Facebook and privacy and all that sort of stuff, but man, their privacy is scary. Like what they do with your information and how they build profiles of people that aren't even on Facebook and all that sort of stuff. So they scared me away from Facebook about a year and a half ago, and honestly, it's kind of nice not being on it.
You know, I whittled my friends down, you know, and people think that I should be wearing a tinfoil hat when I say this, but if you do a little bit of Googling, you can actually see that the federal government, CIA, FBI, they actually have an investment arm, and they actually invest in data mining in these companies. And so, I mean, Chris is right. The privacy implications for what we put on social media, they reach much farther than what we think about when we're putting a smiley and, you know, posting pictures of our kids. So,
yeah. So I see a question from Irfan. He's been a fan of the channel for a long, long time, and he's asking about the load on the UniFi switch. And I showed this a little bit earlier. Maybe you joined late, but you can see right here. This is the Belkin Insight something or other that I've got plugged. The UniFi switch is plugged into this. So right now, this UniFi switch just plugged in, but with one UAP AC Pro, and with that phone that I was just using for the contest, is drawing about 17 watts of power. So just FYI on that one.
So, Chris, do you have a box for the EdgeSwitch that you can either put behind you or put up front while we talk about this? And or you have the UniFi switch, and I think I might have one for the EdgeSwitch, because all of my stuff's mounted in a rack right now.
Me? A box for the what?
Yeah, can we show the UniFi, the 8-port UniFi switch when we're talking about, just for a nice visual?
Yeah, I can certainly move my webcam. There, it's right there.
Some of those questions have been coming in, and I don't know if people realize it, Chris, but the UniFi switch actually runs EdgeOS under the hood, and they just haven't exposed the features. And one question that I see over and over again is, well, why should I use UniFi versus the EdgeOS product? And you know, UniFi is really heading down this path of a single pane, you know, management. And you know, once they start exposing a lot more of the features, where you don't have to do these workarounds with the JSON file, because when I get people who ask me about that, I'll be honest with you, I ignore the question, because if I go in and I do something, even though it's kind of, you know, it's supported and you can find instructions how to do it, if I do that for a company and then I get hit by a bus and it's not documented properly, you know, then it takes the next guy how long to figure out, you know, what I've done. So I think you will always see the UniFi, and if anybody from Ubiquiti is in the chat and you can chime in on this, or if anybody has more insight or knowledge than what Chris or I have, I think that you will always see UniFi be a little bit behind the Edge product, because you know, the Edge product, the EdgeOS is the version is newer, and when you look at what the current UniFi product is based off of, it's an older revision. From a marketing and from a business standpoint, I also would understand, you know, trying to keep those products separate, and because if you had two products that were equal like that, you know, who's going to buy what? Most people are probably going to go with the single pane unless they've got, you know, specific requirements.
Yeah, I see some questions here. So, have you tried VPN on demand yet? I have not. I'm going to bust through a few of these. I like the control over my Edge Router Pro 8. The UniFi system works awesome, and with the key, the controller is nice and independent. Yep, I agree. The Edge Max, is there a way to name the connected devices manually? So you can't name the connected devices manually, but you can name the ports manually. So that would be how I would probably solve that if you were looking to do that. You should always be documenting so the next guy can pick it up. Yeah, that is true. And as a matter of fact, I would add to that, you should always be documenting so that you can remember when a year later and you haven't touched the thing, you come back and you're like, oh crap, how did I do this? So
well,
for me, documentation is mostly reminding my future self about how I configured something.
And I do document, but Chris, you've run into it, I'm sure, 100 times in the field, where you walk into an absolute mess and you're like, what was this company or what was this guy thinking? And there's no documentation to go with it. So as much as people, you know, can tell us document, while we might do it, we know there are other people out there who aren't going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got up here on my screen, and I'll just do a quick little overview here. So here's the EdgeSwitch. This is the EdgeSwitch 24 Lite. It's the one that I've got right behind me, sitting right here. This, you can see, is a full-blown GUI interface, right? And this is what I like about the UniFi switch. I'm only on version 1.7. They actually have version 1.9 out, I believe, now is the latest version.
The switch is at 1.7, and then the Edge router's at 1.9.
Oh, is that right? Okay, so I'm getting my firmwares mixed up. But, yeah, okay, so maybe I am on the latest and greatest then. So, port summary, VLANs, this is basically, you get into some stuff with this switch that, like, I understand VLAN and tagging and untagged ports and trunk ports and all that sort of stuff. Like, I get that. I understand that. But for the people that are newer to networking, the networking novices or just home enthusiasts, it's an interesting concept to try to understand. And it's not exactly the most apparent thing. I mean, it's not super simple to understand VLANs. That's a more advanced function, I guess. I personally think it's easier to learn VLANs on this device than it is to learn it in UniFi. UniFi tries to make it easy, but I think what they do a good job of is just kind of confusing you, because you have to set VLANs in a couple places, and it's a little bit, I don't know, it's not as intuitive to me as it is right here. See, I can see, here's all my VLANs. The ones that are have the square around them is my trunk port, right, which is my cross connects to my edge router. And then we can see where I've got untagged ports, tagged ports. So for instance, port 7 here, untagged on the default VLAN, and then tag, tag, tag on all of my other VLANs. Well, that's my access point. Okay, and why do I have it tagged on all the VLANs? So that I can, like pass a guest VLAN to the access point, okay? Anything else I'm plugging in, we're excluded on the other VLANs because they're just devices that I'm plugging into my default LAN. Now, if we scooch over here, we've got a couple of interesting things. I've got port 19 and 20, and this is really hard to see. You know what? Let me see if I can bring this up a little bit. There we go. Sorry, it was a little hard to see, so I just had to zoom in a little bit. So we've got port 19 and 20 on VLAN 100 untagged, right? And so what I do there is I will set up, if I'm building a customer's phone system or I'm building a customer's network in-house here, I set up separate untagged networks that mirror their local area networking scheme, right? And that way I can set it up here, basically replicate their environment. Same thing with this last port. So I've got VLAN 10 untagged on these 4 ports, which I think is 192.168.1 in my office here. And then I've got a different one on this VLAN 100. So to me, it's very easy to see how you can do that kind of stuff. Now let's go over and take a look at UniFi and take a look at the VLAN side of UniFi. So UniFi, first you got to start with, wait, let me think about this for a second, because I don't think there's any way that I'm going to expose my WAN IP. But I just want to be real careful about that. No, because I don't have a USG. So there's no way that this thing's going to... Correct me if I'm wrong, Willie, but I don't think if I click it around in here, like on my networks, I don't think I'm going to expose any WAN IPs.
No, you're good.
Okay, so if we go over here to settings, we can see... Good, it's not exposing passwords either, thank God. So if I click on networks... Okay, so here's some networks that I've set up, right? So here's my regular LAN, 192.168.200. And then we've got this 192.168.2.1 as the VoIP network, and I can do a new network. So if I wanted VLAN 100, say, so we're just going to call this VLAN 100. We'll say VLAN only, and VLAN ID is 100. Willie, you want to explain what IGMP snooping and DHCP guarding are?
So DHCP guarding allows you to tell the switches basically what port your DHCP server is on, and it will block any other DHCP servers in the network besides the one that you specify. I will tell you, we're talking about documentation. I have run into that in the field with a UniFi switch. Somebody had set up a UniFi network, and I went in and I put in a different firewall, and I couldn't figure out why none of the clients could get an IP address. It was because they had the DHCP guarding, turned on, and so it took me about 15 minutes to realize, what was going on.
Which is actually a very good idea if you, again, document it, but you should probably turn on stuff like that. I'll tell you a funny story that I ran into about 2 months ago. I had a customer of mine that was driving themselves crazy because they would plug devices into their network and they were getting some weird IP addressing scheme. Couldn't figure out what it was. It was, pretty clearly a rogue DHCP server on that guy's network. But he couldn't figure out. He's like, I haven't plugged any DHCP servers in. I haven't done anything like that. It turns out that the rogue DHCP server was a Samsung smart refrigerator.
Oh, come on.
Swear to God. So for some reason, they put in this Samsung smart refrigerator. It's one of those like $5,000 refrigerators that has like the display on the front panel and stuff. That Samsung smart refrigerator had a DHCP server enabled that was hosing the guy's network.
That is insane, Chris. A refrigerator?
It's the Internet of Things, man.
The Internet of Bull, that's what it is.
Yeah. So that was just a funny story. But, so that would be, that's your VLANs, right? So if I create a VLAN here, and by the way, I am on version 5.07 on my UniFi controller, so I'm a little bit far back as far as versions go. The latest UniFi version is 5.2.9, but being that this is my production UniFi that I've got a ton of customers on, I don't always update it to the latest and greatest, right on time. I'm usually about a couple months behind with that sort of stuff. So, okay, so if I create a VLAN here, we're going to go ahead and save that. Oh, VLAN 100 is already assigned. Hang on a second. We'll call this VLAN test. Save. I've already given something VLAN 100. We'll say VLAN 99 then. Okay. And we'll say this is VLAN 99. Okay. So save that. Now I've got this new VLAN 99, right? I can edit it. Just go back and do the same settings if I want. But let's go back over here to my actual devices. And we're going to click on this guy here. And now let's click on configuration. So in configuration, I've got networks and VLANs. Wait, do I need to refresh this? There it is.
It should
yep,
automatically.
I just had to refresh. Okay, so and by the way, someone had asked a question in the comments. They saw me on my video about the UniFi switch, plug it in, and it didn't light up the light up here right away. And that's because it does take a little while. UniFi refreshes once every 2 minutes or something, right? So it doesn't, even if you plug a device in, you change where a device is plugged in, it doesn't actually change this, it doesn't light up the port for, at least a minute or two. Okay, so we've got my new VLAN here. Now I can do a couple of things. On a per port basis, I can just go into a port, edit it, and I can say all VLANs, which is basically making it a trunk port, right? Or I can say I only want this to be VLAN 99, which essentially makes that an untagged port on VLAN 99. Okay, so, but again, you see no nomenclature whatsoever in here about tagged, untagged, etc. So for people that know stuff about VLANs already, again, this can be a little bit confusing how this all works. If you don't know anything about VLANs already, this maybe will get you through what you need to do, but you're also not learning anything about VLANs really. So there's an interesting thing there as well. Advanced options, I'm not going to touch any of these. So now let's say I have 5 VLANs, and I wanted just port 2 to have only 2 of the VLANs. Like maybe I want my main LAN and then my guest Wi-Fi to be on port 2. Well, how do you do that, right? So now I got to flip back over here to configuration. I got to create a new network. So we're going to say this, my guest, let's see, LAN plus, I wonder if I can use plus symbol. LAN plus guest Wi-Fi. Native network, we're going to say is my LAN, and then tagged networks, I can't, VLAN 99. So native network meaning the untagged network, and then tagged networks, whichever ones I want to pass. So now I'm creating a separate quote-unquote network group. It's a weird name because it's actually a group of VLANs. And I'm gonna call this LAN plus guest Wi-Fi, save that, And now I've got this new LAN plus guest Wi-Fi network that I can assign to a port. Okay, so does that make sense? That's how you would do that kind of stuff. Any thoughts there, Willie?
No, you covered that pretty well. And in UniFi, it does, the click through that you have to do to get to that level is a little more drawn out than if you're on an EdgeSwitch and you've got the wizard up there and you hit untagged, exempt, or tagged. I mean, it is a little bit more straightforward if you're used to VLANs when you're in the EdgeSwitch product.
Right. So that's the VLAN stuff. Let's switch back over to. Oh, I'm logged out. Switch back over to EdgeMax here. And there's other things that you can do. So I've seen articles on Ubiquiti's webpage. Let's see. Your Skype settings are adjusting your mic. Sorry, Adam, if you've said this a few times, I did not hear it. Your Skype settings are adjusting your mic and making you really quiet compared to Willie. All right, so maybe it is me. Let's see. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me fix that first because I do want to have good quality audio here. Let's see. Tools. Options. I'm going to flip you, Willie, on Skype over to my camera microphone. Okay, so I'll probably sound a little bit different to you, Willie, but would you like your microphone speaker? No. Okay, so there we go. So maybe that'll be a little bit better.
Can you hear me, Chris?
What's that? Can you hear me, Willie? I think Willie can't hear me anymore. I better switch back. There we go. How's that, Willie? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. So I picked the wrong thing. I flipped you over to my headset. So okay. So now I've set it up so that I'm my OBS Open Broadcaster, which is what I'm using to do this stream, is picking up my audio from my H2 microphone, and I'm not sharing that with Skype anymore. So hopefully now it should be all good. Oh, and then Adam says, here's how to fix it. Call audio settings, microphone, automatically adjust microphone settings. I don't think that'll matter now, but I'll do it anyways. Audio settings. Thank you for the online tech support. I do appreciate that. Automatically adjust microphone settings, automatically adjust speaker settings. I'm going to turn both of those off. Save. Check, check, check.
Sounds good from here.
Okay, good. All right, maybe that'll make it sound a little bit better. Sorry, guys. I don't live stream all the time. I actually looked at the last time I did a live stream, and it was June. So it's been a while. I'd love to be doing live streams more often, but it's a good 2 or 3, maybe 4 hour block out of the day. So it's tough to find the time to do it when you've got a lot of other stuff to do. So, okay. Where was I? Oh, I was going to show a little bit. So I've looked around in the Ubiquiti forums, and you can actually make your EdgeSwitch a router. Like, it's that powerful. I certainly wouldn't recommend doing that because, again, documentation and, you're doing weird things that you're not supposed to really be doing. But you could make it a router if you want. So if you look at these different options, like look at all of this stuff that you can do with the EdgeSwitch.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
So the EdgeSwitch is a layer 3 switch, so it can do routing. Another question that I see is, can I replace my whatever router with this? If you're routing live IPs and you have absolutely no need for a firewall or NAT, yes, this device cannot natively do NAT. It cannot do the firewalling and things like that. So I would either use it to route internally in my network, or if I had a block of live IPs and I needed to supernet those out and do some routing, I would use it that way. Horrible idea to try to use this as a standard router.
Yes, I would agree with that. It's also the same, by the way, on the router side. Edge router versus the USG, which I've done a video on. I do get a lot of flack on that video from YouTube commenters, especially. So it's funny because I put out that video like days before they did a UniFi update, and the UniFi update made the USG options in UniFi much more powerful. So by the time the video was actually released, it was like everyone's like in the comments, oh, it can do this now, and you got to check it out, and da da da. So people are always telling me, boy, you got to check out the new stuff that the USG can do. I don't have a USG in house. I actually probably should buy one just so that I can do some videos on it and just check it out and all that sort of stuff. But
it's still not there, Chris.
It's still not there. That's what I'm saying. Is with versus what you can do in the Edge router. And by the way, I have personally seen problems with the USGs that make me very hesitant to ever put them in a production environment. Okay. Number one, if you screw anything up in your USG, so for those who don't really understand, the USG, Willie's got a picture of one right there. The USG does not, it has an onboard configuration, but configuration changes are made in the UniFi controller. So if you need to change it, you change it on the UniFi controller, and then the USG checks in with your UniFi controller and says, oh, I've got a change. Let me download that change. I'll reprovision with the new change. Now, that's all well and good, and that seems to work okay. But when you get into more complicated setups, so for instance, if you ever wanted to enable PPTP or L2TP VPN on your USG, you are now going into config.properties.json? Is that the name of the file? You basically,
Chris, I stay completely away from that, to be honest with you.
So you guys are watching two guys that make their living on Ubiquiti gear telling you to stay away from the USG, right? You have to go in and you have to hand create the changes that you want in this file called config.properties.json or config.something.json. I forget exactly what it's called. You have to get the structure of your commands right, and you have to have all of the right commands in there. You have to run it through a JSON checker to make sure that you're not going to hose the thing, and then you upload that to UniFi, not the USG. You upload it to UniFi, and then you have to force the USG to reprovision by making any other change in the USG. Then it connects to UniFi and says, oh, there's this config.properties.json file. Let me pull that down and grab all the settings. Now, if you screwed up even slightly in your settings in that JSON file, you have now put the USG into a reboot loop that it will not recover from. And the only way you can fix it is that it reboots, and about once every 5 minutes, you get a 2-minute window to make changes. Right? So basically you can, upload and change the file, the JSON file, to try to get it right a second time. Now, for me, who's administering these things remotely, right, if I've knocked myself off of internet access because I screwed up a JSON file, that's really, really bad. And I don't know, it's just, the JSON file thing has bitten me so hard in the past. I don't like working with them. And that's
and let me comment on that too. So I will tell you, I have scads of USGs deployed. But where they're deployed, they're doing what the USG is really good at, and that's everything that is exposed. And this is my opinion. And I'm sure I'm going to get all kinds of comments, and because people love to do all that backdoor stuff, and there are programs, I make them do things that they're not supposed to do. Hell, if you've seen my channel, we shoot wireless through trees, and we've got things, our Fresnel, the Fresnel zones they're trashed, and so yeah, I bend the rules a little bit on some stuff, but it's a little different with the USG. And so where I need simple setups, just a couple VLANs, and I don't need quality of service on the voice or video or things like that, I use these. Where I need anything a little bit more complicated, I will put, an EdgeSwitch and, an Edge Router X.
Yeah. For very vanilla setups, the USG can be a good option. Especially, I would deploy a USG. I don't have a problem deploying a USG in a very vanilla setup, especially if I'm their administrator, like if they're hiring me to do the work for them, and I need to get into their network from time to time, or I need to make changes to that router from time to time, then I don't necessarily have a problem with the USG, but I would still rather just configure an ERX or an Edge Router Lite, just because, the router is pretty much set it and forget it. There's not a lot of times that once you've got the initial configuration done, you're going to make changes to that router. So anyways, that's my rant. End of rant on the USG. But that is why I don't like it. And still to this day, even with the improvements in UniFi, I still am not a fan of the USG device.
And you can call me a fanboy, but I will deploy it in certain. I am very picky about where I deploy it, and but I do deploy it, and so I see a question out there. Did either of you guys think about remaking EdgeSwitch routing video? I actually have a video. If you go to my channel and you go back to before I had video, before I had audio, where I was just explaining everything on a notepad, and it's spelled out very plainly, very simply, how to do routing with the EdgeSwitch. So I am going to redo some of those old videos. Chris has kind of prodded me to do that, so that's the direction I'm heading, but they are out there right now.
Yeah. And
I also see somebody said ASAs are awesome for work. If you want to, I do support ASAs. I'm very fluent in that. If you want to overpay for your firewall, that's awesome. And I'm sure I'm going to get hate mail over that. But if you go to my channel, there's also a quick configuration video, how to configure ASA. And I can actually post a link to that if you want.
Hey, Willie, how many IT guys does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know.
It takes 10. It takes one IT guy to actually change the light bulb, and it takes 9 IT guys to tell you how they would have done it differently.
I love it. That's good. I'm going to have to... My wife will appreciate that, Chris.
Well, that's the point of that is that there's not only one right answer in IT, and that goes for all of IT, right? Phone systems, networking, da-da-da-da. I mean, you can do what you need to do in 1,000 different ways, okay? What it always comes down to is what you're comfortable with and what you're experienced with, and that's what people tend to, glob onto, right? Is because they're like, well, I mean, and in my case, look, I could make a home network work with a USG and a UniFi switch, and make even a corporate network, not even a home network. Just I could make a whole corporate network work with that stuff. I could do it, yes, but just from my own experience, my own personal opinions, and just I prefer edge routers and edge switches, and that's what it boils down to.
Yep. Chris, I could not agree more. In fact, I probably have that conversation once a week, especially with some younger people in IT that I'm trying to mentor. And I tell them, stick 1,000 IT guys in a room, and you're going to get 1,000 different opinions.
Yep, you're exactly right. Yeah. And by the way, the one thing, and I know a lot of the people that are watching this, probably all of the people that are watching this, are IT guys or at least IT enthusiasts. Otherwise, I don't know what you're doing here if you're if you're not. But just as a rule of thumb, and this comes from a guy, I have hired a ton of people. So I wasn't always a single guy consultant, right? I've had up to, maybe about 30 people working underneath me at any given time or at some point in the past, which is a decent amount of people to have hired and fired and, worked with. So I've been up to, again, I don't want to feel like I'm bragging. I've been up to director level in a corporate environment, okay? The one thing, if I can give a tip to a new IT guy that's looking for a new job, and the one thing that I always look for when I'm hiring is don't be a know-it-all, okay? It is 100% okay to not know everything about everything in IT, okay? I don't know everything about everything in IT, and I've been doing this for close to 20 years, okay? So I don't know. What do you think about that? I mean, one of the things I tell everyone that I hire is I would much rather have you tell me I don't know how to do that, but I will figure it out, than guess and give me a wrong answer.
I totally agree with that. Absolutely. I will tell you that I believe if your boss is going to fire you or move you along for saying, I don't know, personally, I think you might be working for the wrong person. But I can tell you that in my 9 to 5, my boss doesn't expect me to have all the answers. She does expect me to have a relatively good idea of how to get to, find people or resources that have those ideas. And that's as somebody just said, always be learning. I will tell you, Chris, and you're probably in the same boat. There is not a day that goes by that I don't purposefully try to learn something new. And a lot of times, other people will teach me new things without even really, I didn't even ask for it. So it's just human interaction.
Yep. No, I agree 100%. I find that it's almost impossible not to learn new things every day, Every day you kind of like just in your regular work and doing stuff, unless you're stuck in a job where you're, kind of just doing the same thing every day. I mean, I know I learn new stuff all the time. Like just this week, I was working with some customers that, I was working for a big company. I went independent. And when I first started going independent, I switched, I knew I was going to go with the free PBX infrastructure for all of my PBX deployments. It's one of the things that I specialize in, voice over IP and phone system installs. And, you learn a lot about that. I mean, even being in voice over IP for 15 years, you can't possibly know all of the little nuances about a specific phone system, in my case, the free PBX. So you take that knowledge as you learn and you move forward with it to the point where now I feel like I have a very solid solution for my customers. I have really good recommendations that are based on my own personal experience with products and servers and software. And I look back at the first installs that I did of free PBX, and while they work and they're still working today, I would have done them a lot differently today. So you just, again, always be learning, and don't ever be afraid to say, I don't know. That's a very, very huge thing. So Willie has disappeared on us. I will... by the way, Hector, that is a great point, and I think I've said this to Sangoma. I said, I think one of the biggest detriments to the free PBX is that it's called free PBX, because there is no such thing as a free PBX. Yes, you can install it for free and all of that sort of good stuff, but there's costs to everything. The phones cost money. There are commercial modules in free PBX that are very, very valuable that cost money. Your SIP trunking or your analog connectivity is going to cost money. So calling it free PBX was actually, I guess, just marketing, right? So I'm not happy with that, but I do like that product a great deal. I'm in love with the free PBX. Let's see. Irfan, at times I've learned something new while trying to find the answer to someone someone asked me. Yeah, exactly right. And that's the thing. That's the thing about a good IT person, is that you don't have to know the answer. You just have to know how to find the answer, right? And that's there's a special skill there, right? Being able to look something up. I get comments on my YouTube video all the time, YouTube videos, where people ask me something in a YouTube comment. Of course, none of the people that are watching this right now do this, but other people that watch my videos will ask me something on a video that you can find the answer to that question by literally copying and pasting the question you asked me into Google will get you that answer very quickly. So why? I don't understand the mentality of putting it into a YouTube comment and expecting to wait on that answer for someone who may never even see that comment, right? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, but it's different people's mentalities.
Well, and I think that, some people, I know quite a few people in IT, and some of them are not good Googlers. They may, I don't know how you say this without coming off like an arrogant a-hole, but like maybe IT doesn't suit them. So I think that a lot of us have an aptitude, to be able to do that, to know, and maybe we're not even so much, we weren't maybe born with the aptitude, but or maybe maybe it's experience, or I don't know what the combination of that is, without sounding like I've got an ego that's so inflated I can't walk through a door. Because I'll tell you, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I can find you the smartest guy in the room. You know what I mean? So,
well, someone said somewhere, and I don't remember where I saw this. I think it was on one of like the YouTube gaming channels that I follow. There's this guy who's like puts out these inspirational quotes and stuff, and he said something the other day that was to the effect of like, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Didn't like Albert Einstein or somebody
Probably.
famous said that, right?
Yeah, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, so I couldn't tell you.
I'm going to Google that.
There you go. I've interviewed people, and even though I say you don't have to know everything in the world, there are still some basics that you do have to know. And if, like, I could do an entire video on interview technique and the way that I interview people and very quickly ferret out who's going to be a good fit for a job. And, like, I've had people that I've interviewed for, like, I'll never forget this. I interviewed a guy for a voice over IP sales engineer position. So sales engineering, voice over IP company. And I said, one of the first questions, because when I do an interview, I start off with a list of sort of escalating questions that sort of escalate in difficulty until they kind of get stumped, so I can sort of gauge. It starts off real simple. What is DHCP? What is this? What is DNS and how is it used? Little things that every person that's in networking should at least have a very, decent understanding of, especially if they're applying for an IT position. And I will never forget, this one guy came in, interviewed with me, and again, sales engineering for a voice over IP company. And I said, what is SIP? And he hadn't the slightest idea what SIP was. And I was like, how did you even get through the door?
Well,
I don't like wasting time in interview. I tell people after the fact, like, if I sat down with you and interviewed you for an hour, it was because I was interested. But people that I am not interested in, I never interview for more than 15 minutes because it's not worth my time and it's not worth their time. Just if I know they're not going to be a good fit, just end the interview. We're done.
Well, and I'll tell you, and you and I have had this conversation before, Chris, that, I've worked for enough bad supervisors that you're talking about your interview techniques, that I kind of figured out as I became a manager and a supervisor how I should be treating people. I worked for a guy, and I'm not going to tell his name or the company, but if you know me, you'll be familiar with the story. But we were sitting in his office. There were 5 of us in the IT department. I was the head network engineer, and we're sitting there at the desk, and we're talking about problems with DNS and Active Directory, and the IT director literally looks at us and says, "We don't need DNS." And so I was like, okay, let me go stop the services and you see how that works out for you. But he literally argued it till one of the other guys said, well, why don't you Google that? And then he just got pissed off, slammed his hand on the desk, because he was in charge. He was the dude, and I try not to be like that. But we have. There are so many people in IT. IT, I believe, at this point still has the lowest unemployment rate. What is it, like 2% unemployment, or
really?
Maybe it's a little higher now?
Yeah. And
they say at 4% unemployment that everybody who's employable is employed. So if you're at that 4% level, and correct me if I'm wrong in thinking like this, Chris, but if the standard is at 4%, everybody who's employable is employed, but you've got a particular sector that's at 3 or 2%, that means you've got a percentage of the people who likely shouldn't be in that field.
Well, I've seen that a lot. So I've had past positions as sales engineer. I've had past positions where I was doing, or at least overseeing, tons of installations of phone systems. And in those instances, you run across a lot of IT guys. And I've always attributed it to or I guess compared it to, finding a good IT guy is a lot like finding a good mechanic, because, the person that's trying to find the IT person, just like the person that's trying to find a good mechanic, they don't understand the ins and outs of the job that person is doing. They're just basing hiring them or giving them your business based on what your gut instinct is about that person and whether they talk a good game, whether they're a good salesperson, right? But they could be a really shitty IT guy. And I've run into a lot of shitty IT guys. I ran into this company where we installed a phone system, and they had I got called. One of my guys had to fly out there to do this installation. It was in where is Wayne's World from? Aurora, Illinois. That's where it was. I'll never forget. It was in Aurora, Illinois, and my guy flew out there and then called me it was like 7 or 8 a.m. on a Saturday because he was out there doing the installation, and was like, bro, you gotta help me. Their network, there's something wrong. It's all messed up. I don't really understand what they're not telling me anything. It's not working right. Something is goofy. It's just not working, and I can't figure it out. Help me. So I'm like, all right, let me remote in. So we got in, started figuring out. These people had an IT guy, quote unquote, who was running 2 completely separate Class C subnets on the same wires.
Wait a minute. Say that again?
He was running 2 completely separate Class C subnets on the same wires, on the same network.
This guy's clueless.
Yeah. But when I argued with him, and I figured out the problem, and then I was arguing with him about why he can't do that, they hadn't the slightest idea what I was talking about and why it was a problem. Because everything else works fine, and I'm like, I have no idea why your network is working fine. The way that you have this set up, it should not be, So it's just one of those things that, like, there are really shitty IT guys out there. And there's also really good IT guys, and there's every spectrum of good and bad in between there. And so I try to be as good an IT guy as I can, but, the more business that I get, and I think, Willie, you and I were talking about this the other day, the more difficult it is to please all of your customers. And you do get, you start getting some customers that you just cannot make happy. And I hate not making customers happy, but inevitably some customers are just not a great fit, and sometimes you're not the good fit for them and they're not the good fit for you.
Right.
So, and people get pissed off when you tell them that you can't work for them anymore for whatever reason. So,
and and I've had a couple of those where I never took payment. I didn't even discuss payment, but I moved them along, and I don't understand, and I think you hit the nail on the head the other day, where they've already decided to hire you, and so it's like asking somebody out on a date and they reject you, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of like that, and I did that to a customer, like when I was at Astracon, which was at the end of September. I had a customer that had not paid me for something like 3 months, right? So they didn't pay me. I kept harping on them for payment. They finally paid up, and then I was at Astracon, so I was super busy. I didn't have time to deal with them, and they were hitting me hard, hey, we need this fixed. We need our phone system worked on. We need blah, 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 blah. And I wrote them back, and I'm like, listen, I've already told you what the problem with your phone system is. It was related to, they didn't have enough resources on the virtual machine they were using to run it, which, by the way, I don't recommend running a PBX in a virtual machine to begin with, but they were doing it. It had terrible sound quality, and I told them why. I said, it's because your virtual machine doesn't have enough power. And so they kept ignoring that and just telling me, no, we need this fixed. You need to fix this. And I'm an hourly guy, right? You pay me hourly for that kind of stuff. There's no, project. It's not like I'm implementing a full phone system. They hired me for 5 hours, didn't pay me for 3 months on those 5 hours, finally paid up, and then wanted me to do more work on the system, and I was already out of town, and I was like, listen, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to work for you anymore. I can't do it just because, you're a pain in the ass, basically, and I don't have time for it this week, especially because I'm out of town, and you didn't pay me for 3 months. I don't want to do some more work for you and then wait 3 months to get payment, every month having to email you and remind you and call you and leave voicemails and say, hey, where's my money? Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the money, Lebowski, right? I don't want to do that. It takes my time to follow up on billing, and I hate billing. I hate doing it. Anyways, so what happened with that client is the very next day, I get a Better Business Bureau complaint against my company, where they said that I walked away from an unfinished job, which is absolutely not the case considering that they hired me hourly. There was no project. It was an hourly consulting basis. So all of the hours that I did, were paid for. They paid for the hours that they used, and then I told them I didn't want to do any more hours for them, and so they did a BBB complaint.
Yeah, it's crazy. Hey, I want to address a couple things here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick that I'm seeing. you made a comment about you don't recommend running a PBX virtualized. I'm pretty much in agreement with that, but we're getting some comments about that, and I want to address those. I've worked with several PBX manufacturers that are not the PBX manufacturer that Chris uses. I've worked with Toshiba and Cisco, and I will tell you that when you get into the high end stuff like that, it took them a while to adopt virtualization, and even if you do go virtualized, they have very specific requirements for those VMs. And here's the thing, I will tell you, I'm a VCP 6. I'm a VMware Certified Professional 6. It means I can troubleshoot your VMware, and I've got hands-on, and it's pretty much impossible to pass the exam without some hands-on and knowing what you're doing. And I will tell you, if you don't know what you're doing, don't virtualize it. I'm going to agree with Chris on that, because 100%. You're going to end up with a bigger rat's nest, because, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Chris, I'm going to direct most of the voice over IP stuff to Chris, even if it comes through my channel. But voice only has 150 millisecond delay that it can handle. Yeah. And if you F up your resources and you have no idea what you're doing, and you're not running quality of service, and you've got this huge stack, and that VM doesn't have dedicated resources, just don't do it.
Right.
Buy a physical box and stick it out there.
Well, what it boils down to is this. I am the first one to admit, especially when it comes to voice over IP, that it can work in a virtualized environment. It's not that it can't work in a virtualized environment. If done properly, yes, it can work in a virtualized environment. I mean, look at all of these companies that have PBX in the clouds. Those are all virtual machines, right? So it certainly can work in a virtualized environment. The problem is twofold. Number one, VMware is its own beast. And I say VMware, I just mean virtualized. Whether you're using Zen, whether you're using whatever you happen to be using for your virtual server, it is its own beast. And you have to be very good at administering virtual servers in order to make something that is very intolerant of latency, like Willie was saying, work well in that environment, right? So what I find is more often than not, someone will just throw up a virtual server with the default settings, not do any optimization, really not even know that much about virtualization, and throw free PBX on it, and then they have a bad time. And it's like, okay, well, that's why I don't recommend it. Second of all, you're adding an extra layer of networking. You've got the networking of the virtualized server. You've got the physical network card of the server that is running the virtual machine. And then, of course, you've got your further network and then out to the internet and NAT and all that sort of stuff. So voice over IP is the least forgiving thing when it comes to networking problems. And it manifests itself as bad call quality or one-way audio or no audio. Okay, so that's problem number 2. Problem number 3 is that in a virtualized environment, you do not have the option, and again, maybe you do if you're good enough at virtual machines, but you do not have the option of putting a physical card for analog connectivity. So if you want PRIs or analog lines as backup to your SIP trunking or something like that, it's much, much more difficult to do that in a virtualized environment. You have to go with an external, gateway that terminates those analog connections or the digital connections and then converts it to voice over IP and sends it into the virtual machine. And now you're dealing with multiple servers to handle that stuff. And
or in the VMware world, you have to spend a lot more money on licensing, and you'd be better off to buy a physical box anyway.
Yeah. And so just all of those things combine to say, look, the phone system is arguably one of the most important components to a business, to a business's technology, right? Because if your phones don't work, much like if your website doesn't work, or if your network is down, you need it fixed right now, right? It's a mission-critical application on your network. So don't fuck around with it. All right, I don't curse that much, but I have to say that in this case, don't fuck around with your PBX. Build it right, or else you're going to have a bad time.
I agree, 100%. And we lost somebody, Chris. I don't know if he couldn't take us or some of the other commenters, but Muhammad is out. So peace.
What happened?
I see. He said, "I can't take this anymore. I'm out." So,
Okay.
I mean, so this is where maybe IT, Chris, is becoming the new politics. Where we can't have differing opinions. But anyway, I agree with you 100%, and it's kind of like. Let's talk about like Ubiquiti in this situation, right? So you've got these access points. Here's the one that I'm going to send out. This LR, I don't know, what are they going for? Like $59 now, $69,
something like that.
Somebody sees this and they see the word enterprise, and they're like, "This is going to be awesome." But the way that Ubiquiti is structured is you need to know a little bit. About networking to make this thing run optimally.
Yep.
And so you get people who buy what I consider to be awesome hardware in the Ubiquiti, and I think I haven't really got too much into the MikroTik. Somebody did send me some of those because they want to see videos on them, so that's coming. But you get this hardware that has the software on it, and you can just do awesome things with these, like high level things that in the Cisco, Juniper, Brocade world that you would have to pay a lot of money for, but they don't understand it and how to make it work. So automatically, this thing's a piece of shit because they don't understand how to make it work.
Right.
And I see that quite a bit. So, and my rant's over now. I'll let you take it back, Chris.
Well, I didn't want to get on too much of a rant, topic, but. Yeah, I mean, it just all boils down to sort of the original thing that we were talking about. It's impossible to know everything about IT. It's just impossible, right? So what I prefer to do, and as an IT guy for 20 years now, is learn the stuff that you are dealing with on the most regular basis, and then anything else, learn how to find the people that know how to do that. Right? That's sort of what it boils down to, is if you build around yourself a series of contacts that you can reach out to if you have trouble with any particular area, not only will they help you learn more when you do have to fix something or implement something new, but those are your experts. They're going to get it done quickly, they're going to get it done efficiently, and they're going to get it done hopefully right the first time. So finding those people is really a good thing in IT. And you don't know everything. Okay? I want to say that to everyone that's watching this right now. Even if you're watching it 2 months from now, you don't know everything. Okay? No one does. All right? So don't pretend like you do, because no one knows everything. You can have your opinions about stuff, and but there's no one knows everything about everything. That's the bottom line.
Well, and I just want to add to that. One of the things that I tell some of the younger guys that I try to mentor them, because Chris, you and I have been in IT long enough that we don't have to kick the door in. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of these guys are finding, they're struggling to get in. And what I tell them is get a solid foundation, and you're not going to know everything, but get a solid foundation so when somebody's talking to you, you can tell if it's bullshit coming out of their mouth.
Right.
Or you have, enough knowledge to know where to go to get these resources. That's more valuable than trying to know everything.
Yeah. I'll tell you a story, and the one thing, and I bet you guys can probably all sympathize with this. I know for a fact Willie can. The one thing that I am happiest about being an independent consultant and running my own business is no longer having to deal with politics in corporate politics, IT politics. I'm not even talking about like national politics. I just mean like internal core politics within an organization, because it's so toxic, right? When you are having to deal with that stuff on a regular basis. And I'll give you a really good example of that. A long time ago, I was, this is, before my last job, before independent consulting, so we're going back about 8 years now. And I was not happy with what I was doing, so I was looking to switch jobs, and I was out on the interview circuit. I was doing interviews with different companies. And I interviewed for this research hospital, a very, very well-known research hospital based out of Los Angeles area. And I was being interviewed for the position of Linux system administrator. Okay, so my job was going to be to administer their Linux servers. I mean, basically take care of their Linux infrastructure. And they had a mixture of Windows and they had a mixture of Linux in their environment. And so I went in and I did the first interview. I met with them for about 2 or 3 hours, met with different people. Everything went well. Awesome. They brought me back a second time. I interviewed with the CTO, and I interviewed with some of the higher-ups, and they toured me around the building and stuff. I'm like, well, this is great. This is looking really good. And so then I'm thinking that they're going to drop me an offer any second now. So then I go back, and maybe a couple days later, I get a call, hey, we need you out here one more time. We just hired a new manager, and that new manager wants to meet with you. He wants to meet with all the new hires, or the new prospective new hires. And so I'm like, all right, great. Well, the last 2 interviews went swimmingly, so it's I'll just go back in a third time, no problem. Went back in a third time, and the guy sat me down and was immediately, like, you could tell, he was like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to not have to hire this guy. And he had just come in from a different company. So my gut feeling on it was that he had people that he wanted to bring over from the old company to fill the position that I was interviewing for. And so he sat me down and he just started grilling me, like hardcore interrogation, grilling me on obscure Windows Active Directory questions. Keep in mind that I was interviewing for a Linux system administrator position, but he's asking me about the various operations masters or whatever. And I haven't administered Active Directory at this time, probably in about 5 or 6 years. And at this point now in my career, it's been, 15 years since I've administered Active Directory. So I don't know this stuff off the top of my head. And he's just grilling me about this and Windows and obscure and blah, blah, blah. And like all of these like sort of like group policy objects and like things that like I'm sure if I was administering Active Directory as my full-time position for a very long time, I would know all of these questions. And there's certainly questions that wouldn't be hard to Google and figure out the answer to if given some time. But he just didn't want to hire me. So he sat down and went through all these questions. And so I failed miserably. Like I felt like an idiot. I didn't know the answer to like half of his questions, and so they sent me home, and then they called me back the next day and say, "Sorry, you didn't get the job."
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, looks like we got a couple questions. Sean wants to know about the setup with your Amplify gear. Did you want to revisit that?
Yeah, I have not had a chance to revisit the Amplify gear. I will try it again. Especially again, you don't know everything about everything, and I had a lot. Amplify video probably gave me more constructive criticism than I've had on any other video that I've put out in recent history, to the point where I had to actually delete some of the comments. One of the guys commented on my Amplify video, and he started his comment about, you should really learn a thing or two about physics before you start talking about things you don't know about.
What?
And so I basically just deleted his comment because, again, I if I don't like your comment, I have no problem with constructive criticism. Go back and look at that Amplify video and look at all the criticism that I received for the way that I was testing it. And I respond to those people, and I have no problem with constructive criticism. But when you're an asshole, I'm sorry, I'm just going to delete your comment.
You know what? Maybe we should invite Bill Nye to come do some installations with us.
Maybe. Yeah, I just thought that was a funny comment, and I was like, what? What is that? Like, that's weird. But I'm sure he was referring to the fact that I had placed the Amplify. This was probably one of the biggest criticisms that I received, was my placement of the Amplify was in between my stereo receiver and my DVR. And, that's where I wanted it because it's a nice centerpiece on that shelf. But people are right, and I didn't think about this when I was setting it up. That's going to it's going to affect the Wi-Fi signal pretty negatively by having it in that position. And that's probably why it wasn't working as well as it should have. So, yes, I didn't think about it when I was making the video, but certainly hindsight is 20/20, and now I get it, and I will revisit that video at some point, but again, it's just time permitting when I have time to do it.
All right, so we've got some other questions.
Willie, you take over for a second. I'm going to go refill my my coffee.
Can you get me some coffee, too?
Sure, I'll send it FedEx.
So let's look at some of the questions. Let's see. By the way, somebody asked, are there any companies that have bundles. Baltic Networks in Lisle, Illinois, and I don't know if they've got anybody watching, but I actually want to go up there and do a video and get a shopping cart and walk through and just like throw Ubiquiti stuff in the cart. I'm hoping I can make that happen one of these days if they'll allow it. So check them out. Like I said, they are in Lisle, Illinois, and they do bundles. What else? Let's see. Somebody asked about setup or tricks with PBR and load balancing. Most of the time for load balancing, I use, and we'll ask Chris when he comes back, most of the time I use a wizard. I haven't done much with PBR. When I do, I use the examples that are out there and modify those for my needs. And I do keep a healthy stock of configuration files. So if I've done work for you, I probably have a configuration file that doesn't have your IP scheme. But if I've done something that's kind of a one-off, I always hold on to that stuff. I make a backup and a document. Why is it so hard to configure a DMZ zone on an edge router? It's not really that difficult. There is actually a Ubiquiti help desk article out there on that. Help.ubnt.com is a fantastic site, and you can learn a lot by going through a lot of their examples. In fact, I keep seeing the name Ben Penn come up, and I'll address that. He does do some good configuration stuff, and a lot of his stuff is actually on the help.ubnt site. So let's see what else. Any tips on Radius with UniFi? It works, and I am currently experimenting with it. I'm actually not. I've experimented a little bit with certificates, but I'm also experimenting with Active Directory authentication. So I'll have a video on that.
I got a good one there. Can you give us a use case for the Wi-Fi wall plates? Yeah, hotels.
I didn't see that. Yeah. When you say wall plate,
the UAP in wall.
Oh yeah. And I don't know if everybody saw the Wispapalooza pictures. Which, by the way, Chris, maybe we can meet up there next year. But
yeah, I'd love to.
I don't know if everybody saw the pictures, but they have an AC model of that coming out. Now, I don't know anything about it besides I saw the pictures, and it's a confirmed product. Let's see. Somebody said, Willie, is the UniFi switch loud? My 8-port has no fans, so it is not loud.
Yeah. I've got mine. Mine sounds loud, but it's because it's sitting on top of my phone system, which is loud. So
right.
Yeah, but no, it's not loud. There's no fans.
And I will tell you where I've got the 24 and 48 porters deployed, because I have those, and I have also the EdgeSwitch. Where those are deployed, they're in server rooms that are noisy anyway, so I don't really have a good way to really tell you that. I don't know if you can see if I move out of the way. This is my rack where I configure equipment. If you've hired me, or after everybody goes to bed, I will spend time here just beating up configurations, learning things, and everything that I have here except for the Edge Router Pro is fanless. So, and I did that. I kind of do that on purpose.
So there's a question from Jacob Graff. It says, sorry I'm late if you covered this, but wondering if either of you have tips for channel planning Wi-Fi access points for best performance reliability. And I would say one of your best resources for that is to use the map feature of UniFi. So either you can upload your own floor plan, or you can use the Google Earth image of your, like the overhead view of your, where you're deploying something, if it's like a larger site. But essentially, let's see, where do you add? So you take a device, drag and drop it onto the map, and then the way that I do it, so imagine, like I only have one device here, but imagine I had multiple devices. I turn on coverage, first of all, So let's look at, for instance, our 5G coverage, right? It's a much smaller radius of coverage. So let's say this was my house, right? You've got this, like, looks like there's a kitchen or something right here. You've got a bathroom, a conference room, some offices. So I'd probably want to put the AC light, somewhere around here to get coverage of that area. Now, if I had multiple of these AC lights, the way that I like to do it, and Willie, maybe you have some insight into this as well, or Brandon if you're still on, I like to put these on the map and look at this coverage, and then I try to make it so that the outer edge of the green, you see the green right here? I try to make it so that the strength of the access point and the greens just barely touch each other. And then also put them on different channels, and I just stagger the channels. Like I'll go, I'll just try to make similar channels as far apart from each other as possible. And that's kind of how I approach it.
Hector commented, and he says, take an AP that you intend to use and go with it to the site and take readings.
Yep.
1,000% spot on.
That's
Hector.
definitely
Thanks
a good
for
idea too, because every situation is different. The construction of the building is going to have a big impact on your Wi-Fi signal. The the number of walls that they have, the type of equipment that they have. I put an access point into an audiologist's office, someone who deals with people that need hearing aids, right? And they've got this humongous metal soundproof box that they put people in to measure their hearing. And for some reason, stuff on the other side of that box wasn't picking up Wi-Fi very well, right? So, everything mattered. You're absolutely right. But once you have the placement, this coverage map, or if you don't know any of those answers, this coverage map does give you a pretty good idea of how to place things and plan it out, and what the signal strength should be set to.
So, and let me kind of build on that a little bit. So, not only do we take an access point to the site, I used to carry around like a nano bridge, a 2.4 and a 5, because they had AirView built into them, which is a Java-based application that shows you what's going on in the air in those frequencies. And it's important to know what kind of interference you're going to run into, and what's out there. Because that will also help you plan. Because as you know, on the 2.4 gigahertz frequency, you only have 3 non-overlapping channels. So you have to, understand how to build cells so that you're not causing your own co-channel interference. One of the new things that I like about UniFi, and Chris, maybe you can navigate to this, but they actually have a feature built into the controller software now where you can actually take a look at the RF environment. Could you pull that up?
Yeah, where's that under? Insights? Statistics? Insights?
It's under the actual, if you go to an actual device, an actual AP.
Oh, yeah, right. RF environment.
But we do full studies. I don't just willy-nilly, so to speak, throw access points up and try to fix it, because every environment is definitely different. And so I would rather measure twice, cut once.
I have not used IPv6 in UniFi. As a matter of fact, I don't really use much IPv6 at all.
I only do it in a lab environment, which is why I don't have any videos on it, because I don't have a lot of real-world hands-on yet. I can teach it to you if that's what you need to know.
All right, so I'm running that RF scan now. It's going to take a little while, so we'll just keep answering questions in the meantime here.
Well, and it is important to note that when Chris just kicked that off, that will terminate any connections to that particular access point.
Yeah, that's why I hesitated for a second, because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't using any of that for this live stream. So, Ian, I just rolled out a 21-camera G3 video setup. It was an easy installation. However, I built my own NVR. Yeah, great point, Ian. I always build my own NVR, and it used to be 10 cameras that was my tipping point for not using the actual NVR, the UniFi NVR, or the Ubiquiti NVR, I mean. And I've now moved that down to closer to like 7 or 8 cameras. I will not use their IVR for anything more than 7 or 8 cameras. Even if they only have 5 cameras, but they're planning on maybe adding a couple in the future, I will build a server for that. And I caught another one of my videos recently that I caught so much flack on YouTube, and I say caught flack, but really it's constructive criticism, and I do appreciate it. But it was on the build of the UniFi video server where I used the shuttle PC to do it, and I used Windows 10. So I got a lot of flack about Windows 10, and I got a lot of flack.
Some shit about it too.
Yeah, and I got a lot of flack about not making the disks redundant, okay? But keep in mind that that was an install for a church. They didn't have a huge budget, and they just wanted a good working camera system. And yeah, I could have built them a $3,000 server that would have handled their cameras, but they didn't have the budget for that. So, you know, that's the whole story is I try to give the customer the right answer to their questions or the right answer to their IT need without, like, just giving them the most expensive and best practice server that I could possibly give them. You know, IT is malleable. There's rules that can be bent, and there's rules that can be broken. And it's okay to bend rules. It's usually not okay to break rules.
Yeah, and Chris, we had a conversation last night. He's well, I'm not going to speak about your install. I'll talk about mine. You may have seen Tim Bear chatting with us a little bit ago, but we did an installation at his site, and he's got, you know, close to 90 of these cameras, and we put a big Dell server in, dual Xeon, 16 gig of RAM, and then our storage for the video is running RAID 6, and we've got about 8 terabytes of storage. So, but you're talking a lot of recording. Even though the cameras themselves are doing the image processing, I mean, we're still putting a lot of writes on disk. And so, Chris, what's the number? Do you remember? Ubiquiti actually has capped their NVR, so it can only handle so many cameras. And I think that
like
they did
20
that.
or 25, isn't it? Something like that.
I can't remember.
But it would never handle that amount of camera. I mean, I guess it could. Maybe you'd have like a day or two worth of recordings, though, because it's only got a 512 gig drive on board.
Right.
I'm sorry, no, 512 gig?
It's got a
Yeah.
I think it's got a 500 gig drive.
It's
yeah.
a half a terabyte is what it's got.
So, and then somebody said 18 terabytes. I'm sorry, that was 8 terabytes usable. We leave 1 terabyte free. And they have a 30-day retention on their videos. They record on motion only.
Yeah, so to answer Christopher's question, my retention time is also 30 days. I plan for 30 days. But I also I set all of the cameras to only record motion. Okay, so there's again, different environments need different things. Some people want full-time recording of all of the cameras. I don't typically plan for that unless a customer specifically asks about it.
Yeah, and also check your state and local laws regarding audio recording. I'm in Illinois, and we're technically a two-party state that is in the court system right now, but that basically means that I cannot record audio without people knowing, and so in all of our deployments with no matter whether it's Ubiquiti, Access, whoever, we do disable the microphone on the cameras.
Yeah, I have another customer that is hopefully going to buy a new video surveillance system from me in the next couple days here. And they have 20 cameras to start, and they want the capability to potentially go up to 50 cameras on that server. So in that case, I built them a more robust server. It's a 2U rack mount super micro server. It's a Xeon E5 with 16 gigs of RAM. It's got dual RAID 1 SSD boot drives, and it's got a RAID 5, so four 4 terabyte enterprise drives in a RAID 5 configuration. So again, much more robust server. That's a customer that wanted the redundancy. You know, of course, it's got redundant power supply and all that, but that's a much more robust server, and it's going to be capable of scaling them up to 50 cameras at least, right? So, you know, again, it depends on the customer, depends on what they want, and in that case, that was what worked. So hopefully if I get that deal, you guys will see me build that server next. And in that case, I'm not going to use Windows 10, I'm going to use Ubuntu 14.04 LTS.
There was a question earlier, Chris, has either of us touched the mesh product?
No, I haven't.
And even if I had, some of us may be under NDA, so we couldn't tell you about it.
Yeah. I'm not under NDA, I can tell you that. And I can tell you that I have not touched the mesh product. Someone else, by the way, someone back a little bit further back in the comments said that they had built a Ubiquiti NVR in a virtual machine. And again, that's probably fine, because keep in mind that the writing of the camera feeds, again, depending on your hard drive configuration, depending on the resources that you've allocated to the virtual machine, that's going to be much more forgiving application for a virtualized environment than a PBX is going to be. Mesh equals mush.
All right, what other questions do we have? Jacob, did you see that, Chris, about the RAID 5?
No, what was it? Oh, will RAID 5 be able to keep up with those writes? I've done RAID 10 in the past for large camera deployments, but I've never tried RAID 5. Yeah, I think it will. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, and a lot of camera vendors, I think, recommend RAID 6. At least some of the higher-end ones that I've dealt with recommend RAID 6.
Yeah. How much longer is this going to go? You got to go to bed, Benjamin? I don't know. I'm okay with going for whenever. I planned on, probably 3 hours, but it's been an hour and 45 minutes. If I don't know, Will, you still good to go?
Dude, I got all day.
Yeah, all right, I'm fine. I mean, as long as you guys are willing to sit here and watch, I'll give it at least 3 hours, 4 hours.
And let's do this. Let's do some show and tell. Let's if you want to talk a little bit about. Somebody asked the same question that I asked you the other night, Chris, about what do you think about elastics. You want to answer that?
Yeah. So I'm not a fan of elastics for a few reasons. The number one reason I'm not a fan of elastics is that, in my rant earlier, I talked about how your PBX is one of the most, arguably the most or one of the most mission critical applications in your organization, right? Your phones have to work, because if your phones aren't working, you're potentially losing business. Okay, so one of the reasons I don't like elastics is because they tried to cram too many eggs into one basket, right? Elastics tries to be your CRM. It tries to be the free PBX. It tries to be a multitude of other things that it doesn't do any of those. I wouldn't want all of those things on one server. So that's number one thing. Number two thing is that they don't work very well with. So they use free PBX as their that part of Elastics. The PBX part of Elastics is free PBX, but they don't work well with the free PBX team to properly integrate it into their product. It's not the latest and greatest versions. You can't do any of the commercial modules with free PBX on Elastics. And then finally, the documentation, and nothing against like a product that's not from the United States, but the documentation is mostly in Spanish or Portuguese or something. It's in a Latin language that I'm not fluent in. So a lot of the documentation is that's English based is very sparse. So all of that stuff sort of combined leads me to not really like Elastics that much. Or at least I certainly don't recommend it. They also have, besides having documentation that's not in English, and again, nothing against not having documentation in English. It's fine. But I only read English, so for me it's not good. They also have very sparse documentation on the stuff that they do have. So for instance, Elastics, they have a version of Elastics called Elastics MT or multi-tenant, which would be great. I mean, everyone's looking for a really good open source multi-tenant PBX solution, and Elastics looks like they might have one, but again, there's next to no information about it. And if you install it, it's not intuitive to figure out how it actually works. So all of those things combined lead to my recommendation against Elastics. Chris, have you ever worked with Astra Mitel PBX? I have not worked with their PBX. I used to work with Astra phones quite a bit, and I liked the Astra phones until Mitel bought them, and then of course Mitel phones went away. Yeah, there's the answer to that.
So somebody asked, do we have any standard setting recommendations for a UAP AC Pro at home? Let me tell you this. If you ever go through an official Ubiquiti training, one of the first things that my instructor told me was never let the UniFi software make any decisions about your RF environment. And I could not agree any more with that statement. Even for a home deployment, you should take a look around. Now, you probably don't have to get as in-depth as you would in a business environment where, unless you work from home, but, get a Wi-Fi analyzer, look and see what's on the channels, make smart channel selection yourself, make the power settings yourself. And I usually start out on a low power setting and then adjust up. But you'll definitely want to, don't let the software make decisions for you, because it makes bad decisions. If we started drinking at right now and Chris would be asleep by 2 o'clock, bad decisions.
Yeah, it's not a good idea. So yes, I would love to have a drinking live stream, but I've found that in my later in the day live streams, it's, there's a lot of people that are connecting in from Europe and connecting in from all over the world, and it's a little bit more difficult for people to join at those times. So I might have a beer if I do a late night live stream. I've actually thought about, because I would like to get back into gaming. I'm a big Battlefield fan, although I haven't bought Battlefield 1 yet because I just have had literally zero time to play video games in the past 6 months.
Is that also, PC or are you console gamer, Chris?
I'm a PC gamer.
Okay.
Although it's funny, I've historically always played Battlefield on the PlayStation. And so I'm very good at Battlefield. If I play on the PlayStation, I'm usually within the top 5 as far as the end rankings go. And then I switched to PC gaming, right? So I just switched over, and I have not been very experienced with PC gaming. I got my ass handed to me in Counter-Strike so bad, right? Because I'm just still learning keyboard and mouse. So that's another reason I'm a little hesitant to jump into Battlefield 1, because I know I'm going to suck so bad. I got to go through that learning curve of keyboard and mouse. But I also am very much a fan of Ark Survival Evolved. I love that game. And so I've thought about doing some, some actual gaming live streams, like doing a Crosstalk Gaming channel and then putting it on Twitch or something. So if that's something you guys might be interested in, let me know, because it wouldn't take much to tip me in that direction, because it gives me an excuse to actually play video games. If I have tell my wife, no, I got to do this live stream. I got to do a live stream. So
yeah. Hey, Vadim, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce your name, but really nothing is off topic here, unless we read the question and then Chris is like, oh, don't answer that. But as someone who set up and played with vSphere 6, what are my chances of passing the VCA 6? I have covered clusters, high availability, and a little bit of vSAN, distributed switch, and port groups. That's an excellent question. So without breaking NDA and losing my certification, what I can tell you is that the free training that VMware provides on their website for the VCA, because the VCA is really all the salesy stuff. The VCA, you can take their free training, take some notes, and probably pass that exam in a week.
What do you think about exams in general? I've actually thought about doing a video on my thoughts on certification, and the reason I haven't done it is because I know it's going to be very controversial, because I am a pretty strong believer in that the majority of certifications out there are complete bullshit.
I am not going to disagree with that. So I have a litany of alphabet soup after my name that is a mile long. I've been CCNA, CCNA Wireless, CCDA, Juniper certified. I've got Microsoft certifications coming out of my butt. Here's the deal. I'm A+, Security Plus, Network Plus. But I'm in government, so I have to have some of those as a base. And it does provide some value. I do learn things in the official training. I will tell you, though, the VCP 6, my boss told me, because we have a virtualized environment, she said, I want you to have this. And I said, okay. And I was a VCP 4, and VMware pulled a Cisco. And Cisco has me really upset about certification. So I will, unless I have to feed my family, I will never touch another Cisco certification again. But to get the VCP, it cost almost $6,000 this go around. So I think some companies, and I'm not saying this is true of VMware, but I am saying it of Cisco. I mean, certifications are a huge revenue stream for these companies.
Sure.
And I know very successful IT people. I don't know if my friend Christopher or my friend Joel are watching this live stream. Neither of them have certifications, and they are doing very well in their careers. Tim Bear is doing very well in his career. You know, and I almost lump. College isn't for everybody, and I will tell you that some of the most brilliant IT people I know are the least formally educated. But in certain situations, there is real value to the. I saw somebody mention compliance for the certs, and that is definitely 100% spot on. So some of the certs to me don't make sense, but like the CISSP, which is a security certification, they put some real effort into this thing, right? First of all, you have to have a bachelor's. You can't get this certification without a bachelor's. Then you have to be able to prove that you have X amount of experience in X amount of the domains in this certification, right? So then you buy the book, you pass the exam, which is like, I don't know, it's like an 8-hour practical exam. And that's all fine and dandy, but then you have to have somebody who already has that certification vouch for you. So those kind of things, you know, bring some real value. Now, to get my VCP 6, you know, you have to take an official VMware course, and those courses are very expensive. And then you have to pass 2 exams. Now, that's if you are new to the certification or your certification had lapsed. So I had to jump through all the hoops. Now the VCA 6 for me, that was grabbing low hanging fruit. You know, it would be like if Chris or I were to go sign up and take the Network Plus. I'm pretty confident that I could go repass it without opening a book, and Chris could probably just go slaughter this thing.
Yeah,
so,
that's funny because that was actually the idea that I had for the video that I was going to do. You know, I have 0 certifications. I have not a single certification, though I guess, well, I shouldn't say that because I have helped write certifications for a company that I work for. Like, I gave the test, came up with all the questions, gave the test for the certification for a company I used to work for. So I guess I would probably have an honorary certification in that because I actually wrote the test. What is that for?
Somebody said that certifications are like Freemasonry, and I'm actually a Freemason.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, no, but the thing is, I have 0 certifications, and I have interviewed enough people that do have certifications to know that that's not what I look for in a resume, right? That's not. I much prefer to find the people that have the best capacity to learn and troubleshoot, the best capacity to learn and the best inherent ability to troubleshoot problems. Those 2 qualities far exceed any certifications that you might have, with some exceptions. I mean, like I said, you mentioned the Cisco certifications. I know for a fact that you have to work your ass off to get a Cisco certification, right? So I know that there's some value to that, but a lot of the certifications are potentially, you know, they're just kind of BS. And my idea for the video that I was going to do on certifications and why I think they're kind of BS is, I guess my justification for that is that I consider myself to be a successful IT guy. I've been IT for 20 years. You know, I've got a now successful company that I own. It is an IT consultant. And I've also worked with a lot of people that don't have certifications that I think are really great IT guys, right? So you don't have to have certifications to be good in IT or successful in IT.
I agree.
And
100%.
I was going to take the Network Plus exam in a video cold, not having studied for it, not having anything, because the point is, if I pass the exam, you know, it just means that I know what I'm talking about, and honestly, I should be able to pass the Network Plus exam cold first try, because I make a living in networking, and I have for 20 years, right? And so I should be able to pass. Now, if I fail, that kind of shows that the exam's bullshit, because there's in my daily life, I'm a successful IT guy, or relatively successful IT guy, right? So if I fail the Network Plus exam because I haven't memorized book questions, it has no bearing on my day-to-day duties as an IT guy, because those questions that they asked me that I failed the exam, I don't actually need to know in my day-to-day life. And by the way, I saw that someone asked, does Sangoma have any certification programs? They've asked that a couple times. I don't think so. I know they have official training courses where you can go to various places and take like free PBX or Sangoma training on SBCs and PBExact and free PBX. But I don't think they actually come with certifications. Maybe they do, but I don't think so.
And let's see. I was going to try to bring up my. I keep a list of the certifications so that if I have any, they're going to be expiring. That I can, get the latest study material, or if I've got to get signed up for classes or whatever. I'll tell you, the most fun that I had in a certification class was actually, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Ubiquiti fan, but I signed up for the official UniFi administrator cert. That's not the actual name of it, but and the class, I think there were supposed to be more people in the class, but the guy that Microcom sent out, this dude was just a genius when it came to RF theory.
Yeah.
And because I was the only one in the class, I got to hijack his time, and he didn't mind. And so for as long as we got, where in the course we were supposed to be at the end of the day, we could get off topic. And I learned so much from him in 2 days that wasn't in the course. It was fantastic. But I mean, I don't know. For me, Chris, back on that. I do think that certs are definitely needed. I mean, let me just give you a rundown of so I'm a UEWA, which is Ubiquiti Enterprise Wireless Admin. I'm a VMware Certified Professional 6, a VMware Certified Associate 6. I'm an Apple Certified Support Professional. I have my CompTIA A+, Network Plus, Security Plus, and CompTIA Green IT, which basically means that I know more about virtualization and not to drink water with pee in it and stuff like that. I have my MCSE.
So the Common Sense exam.
What's that?
So the Common Sense exam.
Yeah, that one is. I have my MCTS in Windows Vista and Windows 7 configuration. I have my MCP from Windows XP.
That's gotta be expired by now.
Well, the thing about Microsoft certs is they never expire them. So my MCSE on Windows Server 2003 is technically, I believe, still good. But and then I was a JNCIA Junos, and then I had the switching certification. So a lot of my background is I'm really heavy in route switch and things like that. So the virtualization really played into that. But there's definitely times I do believe where the certification and people have been saying it is definitely needed, and you have to have it. And then there are environments that don't require that, and so it's not needed, and brilliant people flourish there.
Yep. Willie's also on the NSA watch list.
Well, more than likely.
What is this live stream about? Someone wrote. This live stream is about the Disney movie Frozen. We're going to talk about the intricate relationship between Elsa and Anna.
Yeah, isn't it true, Chris, that Disney actually had to create a new type of animation for the hair, for Elsa's hair? Did you hear that?
I believe so. Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah, Brandon says I'm certifiable. Yes. No, Brandon's great. Brandon's the guy that I go to all the time when I have a question, and Willie too. I've asked Willie my share of questions too. You heard all of his certifications. I don't have those certifications. I get stuck on something. I call the people that know.
I do too, man. I have those same resources because I'm going to tell you, I'm not the smartest guy in this room.
Well, you're the only guy in that room.
Currently.
Yeah. Well, anyways, it's you guys have any more questions? Anything else you want to see in UniFi? I feel like we're winding down a little bit here, which is fine. No big deal, but just want to make sure we talk to all the fans and get any questions answered. If someone's name is Old Fart on YouTube, I don't have. It's not easy to take them seriously. I don't know what it is.
I'm right there with you.
Have you ever tried cascading UniFi AC APs? You mean like using them as repeaters? I don't know what you mean by cascading. You know what he means by cascading? I'm guessing he means...
I don't know. I would have to think that they're talking about wireless uplink. Olivier, is that what you're talking about, the wireless uplink?
If so, I have done it. In fact, I think I even did a video on how to create an isolated access point. It's somewhere on my channel. But I don't recommend it in any situation. I mean, repeaters are always going to be problematic, period. End of story.
And from the official Ubiquiti training, they do support it, but it is not intended as a long-term solution.
All right. Hey, wireless pros, can you please tell me what is DWDM? I'll let you handle that one. Did you see that question, Willie?
DWDM?
Yeah, what is that?
Well, I don't know. You got to be careful when you are Googling things. It's dense wavelength division multiplexing. Is a technology that puts data from different sources together in an optical fiber, with each signal carried at the same time on its own separate light wavelength. Well, I would like to think very certified for starting this question out, with, hey, wireless experts, can you answer this? Because I don't believe that's wireless.
Here's one for you then. Jeremy asks, I came in late. I don't know if this question has been asked, but should we be at all concerned that the main developer for EdgeOS left Ubiquiti? Now, I'm not a Ubiquiti fanboy as much as Willie here. He knows about the corporate ins and outs of that company. So I'll let Willie handle that one. I mean, I don't even know who the head developer of EdgeOS is, and I certainly didn't know that anyone had left the company. So you have any insight there, Willie?
So Ann Chang did leave to go to a startup. I haven't heard where that's at. And then they had another person leave. And I'm not sure where everybody's going. But they, the team over there is still pretty strong. So... Mo says DWDM is not wireless, and that's exactly what I think we said. So thanks, Mo, for backing us up there. I haven't been drinking yet, Chris. So, just like, I don't know if you guys heard, but on the UniFi side for the USG, the lead developer and co-founder of pfSense, I have seen pfSense come up in the chat here. They actually hired him, and he is now going to be exposing all those goodies in the USG. And I think they're going to make great strides with him on board. So, yes, there has been some shift over there, and if you're on the community, you will see that people are leaving, but they're getting new people all the time. So just hang in there. It's like any other company, man. I don't even know what to say. If somebody from Ubiquiti is in the chat room, please give
us all your corporate secrets.
Yeah.
No, there was a so the cascading access points thing was cleared up. They're talking about like in a UAP Pro going wiring into the main and then using the secondary port for another access point. Honestly, I've never set that up that way in production, and I've never really even played with it that way. So I can't imagine, just on the surface, I can't imagine that there's a problem with doing that, because you're going to have plenty of bandwidth in that wire for multiple access points, and probably plenty of bandwidth for the traffic that's going to be sent across multiple access points, and it is a wired connection. Okay, so I don't see that as being a problem if you had to run it that way. However, I would probably always run separate wires to every access point anyways, if at all possible, mostly because if you are cascading access points in that fashion and you lose one of the access points in the chain, you've lost every other access point down that chain as well. Right, so that's just more of a single point of failure type of situation that you would be trying to avoid, or you'd want to avoid.
And I don't believe that they. I don't think these. I don't think these pass through the power.
Well, and
So-
even if they don't pass through the power, though, you could use an injector on the next one, and it would be fine, right? But
what cluster?
yeah, it would be a mess to set it up that way. And if you ever walk into a job and someone has set it up that way, fix it.
Or run quickly the other way.
Someone made a joke on one of my channels, or maybe it was on a live stream, I don't remember. They were talking about how, the best wireless is where you can run a wire. And they said that Ubiquiti's slogan should be, Ubiquiti Wireless, just run wire.
That's funny. That is funny. Somebody said, have you used a UniFi cloud key with a customized hotspot portal to charge guests a small fee to use Wi-Fi?
Well, let me really, before you answer that question, I gotta say that I am a strong believer that you should never charge for Wi-Fi.
I agree with that. However, there are still places, Chris, even in the great United States of America, where Wi-Fi is not free.
I know, but you should never have to pay for Wi-Fi. I mean, it's almost like it just is so ubiquitous now that you should always be able to connect all the time to internet without having to pay for it. Or I mean, certainly your home connection or something you'd pay for. But like, if I'm out at a Starbucks or if I'm out at the airport, most places these days, even hotels and stuff, are pretty good about like giving away free Wi-Fi. And even a lot of hotels that do charge for Wi-Fi, they'll put $10 a day on your room or whatever for Wi-Fi. Most of those places like comp it anyways. Like that's their price, but they're comping it for you, and it's just a marketing thing. It's like, well, we charge $10 for Wi-Fi, but for you, Mr. Howe, we're giving it to you for free, right? So I don't know.
Well, and I can tell you this, if anybody here heard Chris's answer and then has seen my public Wi-Fi security videos, if you go to a hotel and they had one of those lower-end IT guys set it up, you could just throw out a sniffer, grab a MAC address that's authenticated, and get your Wi-Fi for free anyway. I don't condone that, but I'm telling you it can be done.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you have any of these access points, go watch my video on how to steal your neighbor's Wi-Fi, because that's a fun one to watch.
I keep seeing questions come up, Chris, about the 10 gig switches that Ubiquiti have come out. I've seen somebody comment about the UniFi 10 gig and the EdgeSwitch 10 gig.
I have not tried either of those products yet.
And if I have, I can't talk about it. But I have used the regular, the EdgeSwitch 12F, which is the 12 fiber. I actually have one of those that I am working on a video for. And I use it for fiber distribution in a couple different locations. And I like it. But I also cannot speak for the 10 gig at this point. Although I do have some 10 gig multi-mode SFPs here, and I do have a company that contacted me, and they are shipping me free fiber for these to test these out. So maybe I'll throw up a Plex server running on fiber to my gateway and give you access to it, Chris, and you can test it out.
There you go. You see Adam's question there? We were just talking about
Willie,
that last night.
Do you regret doing the video about how to block advertising? So, I didn't bite off my nose to spite my face because I didn't know that was going to happen. I had absolutely no clue. And anybody who does YouTube videos, Chris can tell you that the terms and conditions for YouTube sometimes are as clear as mud.
Yep. That's true.
And so I am actually, Chris and I talked until like 12:30 my time, almost 1 o'clock this morning. And I am actually going to, this weekend, take that video down and reappeal to try to get my monetization turned on. Because the whole point of monetizing my channel was so that I could buy more awesome lab gear to do videos on. That's all I want to do. Is I want to help other people, So
that's what I do too. I mean, I usually try to take the money that I make off of YouTube, which is not a lot, you guys. I mean, we don't make a ton of money off of YouTube. the money that we make is from people who watch YouTube and then hire us to do stuff, right? So that's what we're thankful for, and that's what YouTube is ultimately for. But the money that I do get from YouTube, I try to put back into the channel in some way, right? Like I've always said that once I hit $500 a month in YouTube revenue, which so you guys can kind of see, like I'm not at even $500 a month in YouTube revenue. I've always said once I hit that mark, I'd like to hire an editor to edit my videos so I don't have to do it anymore. So number one, they'll look better, and number two, it takes that burden off of me, because editing these videos and producing them for YouTube takes a lot of time. I mean, you put out a video that's like my what's a good example? I guess the EdgeSwitch 8 video that I put out earlier this week. Probably all told, that was 4 to 5 hours worth of work, right? Between filming it, unboxing it, doing the RMA, of course, because I got one that was DOA and had to send it back, and then researching it, and I don't just like. Sometimes it seems like I don't know what I'm doing, and sometimes I actually don't know what I'm doing, but you try to at least like kind of get familiar with what you're going to talk about beforehand, so there's some work that goes into there, then actually filming it, and then editing it. It takes a long time to do that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I'd like to have the editing burden taken off, but I try to take the money that I get from YouTube and I try to invest in additional products and stuff that I can actually put onto YouTube, things that people are interested in learning about. So yeah, that's basically what this one and the UniFi switch ended up being for me. One of the cameras that I bought in the past was because of that, and I used to do videos on, hey, what do you guys want to see? Like that's how I got the Ubiquiti in-wall, is because people really wanted to see me set that thing up, and I bought that with YouTube revenue. Ended up giving it away on as a contest on the channel. So
yeah. And I'm always improving. Somebody made a comment, my camera sucks. I'm actually looking at 2 computers during this, so I'm running off of a webcam, and I am going to be, trying to update that. There was a question above about Libra NMS, and if you saw my last video or one that I did in July, I did a video in July kind of going over that, and you can see there's a gentleman here in the chat. His name is Sean Woods. He's actually working with me in my newly formed LLC, and we are going to actually be selling pre-configured devices with Libra NMS on it. We're going to have some low-powered devices. Chris and I talked about the pros and cons of Raspberry Pis, and anybody who's worked with a Pi knows that any fluctuation in power can wreak havoc on whatever is on there. So we are trying to mitigate that, and our first product will be Raspberry Pi powered Libra NMS, but it'll actually be powered by PoE. So we are trying to hey, Chris, blue and orange are actually Illinois colors.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I didn't go to a state school, but just thought you'd like to know that.
Yeah, well, I do now. See, look, learning something new every day.
That's right. Eric asked, can we see the How to Block Advertising video? It is on Willie's channel right now. It is. So my YouTube channel is youtube.com/WillieHow. And if you are interested in that video, you need to see it before tomorrow night at midnight, because after that, it's gone.
Someone asked, what do we use to put these videos together for YouTube? And I think I get that question actually pretty often. And I was thinking about even doing a video on sort of my YouTube setup, because there's, again, just like IT, there's a million different ways to do everything, right? So let me go over it real quick right here, just for anyone that's interested. For filming, like right now, this camera right here, this is my Logitech C920 webcam, so that's not what I use for my videos. I actually use this big daddy over here. Here, I'll grab it. So this is my main camera that you see all my videos, so my face cam, so to speak. This is a Canon EOS 70D, and I bought this specifically for YouTube and all the videos that I was putting out because it's a good quality DSLR that does really good video, and it gave me an excuse to buy a DSLR camera. This cost me about $700 or $750. So I really, really love this camera. I bought this on the recommendation of my brother-in-law, who is a professional photographer. He said this is the one to get. So Canon 70D. Don't ask me anything about it because I don't know shit about this camera, and I don't know anything about DSLRs in general. I put it on auto, and then I put it on my stand, and it's something that I'd love to learn more about DSLR, but it's like anything else. There's so much to learn and practice. You have to actually practice. You know, you got to go outside and take pictures and mess with the exposure and the f-stops and all that sort of shit. And I don't do any of that because I just don't have the time. But it's a nice camera. It works well. My microphone is an old school Zoom H2, and I'd really like to upgrade this microphone to like a Blue Yeti or something. But honestly, it sounds fine. And I don't have any problems with it, and it works great for me. I record off of the microphone into Audacity. Okay, so I run Audacity. My screen sharing program is called Faststone, one word, Faststone Screen Capture. And I'm actually pretty much okay with that screen capture. It actually works pretty well for me. So Audacity for the audio, 70D for the face cam, and then the Faststone screen capture for capturing my desktop. And then sometimes I use a GoPro. Like I've got an old school like first gen HD Hero that actually broke, so I'm probably going to want to get a new one soon. And then I take all of those and I put them together in Adobe Premiere Pro. And then I export that to the Adobe Media Converter because that works a lot faster because it utilizes my GPU for doing the output of the video. And that's it. That's really all it is. And yes, I did do a time lapse on the office painting, and I will hopefully put out a video on that at some point. But like if I could flip this camera around, and don't ask me to because I'm not going to, but if I could flip this camera around, this looks nice and neat kind of behind me, but the rest of this room is in complete friggin' shambles. I've got these closets that I'm replacing. Like there was carpet in the closets, and it was like having some mildewy smell in the carpet, so I ripped out all the carpets and I'm putting in like flooring in the closets, and so I've got all of my camping gear and everything spread out all over this room, and it's a friggin' mess. So once I clean up the room and get the office actually set up the way that I want to, I will hopefully do a video on that, and then I will put in the time lapse of painting the wall, which was a super huge pain in the ass, by the way. It's a small wall, but Jesus Christ. And I'll put that video together with like an office tour and all that sort of stuff.
So I want to answer a question. Lil Shit asks if what I grabbed was my mama's dildo. No, it's not. My mama's dildo would be twice this size. This is the Blue Snowball microphone that I use when I do my cameras, or when I do my videos. So you guys got me all flustered and jacked up over here. But I know that's weird talking about my mom's dildo, but
let's get off that subject.
My videos, you know, I'm learning a little bit all the time. I am not, I'm not a videographer, you know, and so I put out just like Chris, I put out awesome content about building awesome hardware or networks, and so I'm still learning, but my videos are getting better all the time. And so some of the tricks that Chris has, you know, I use what the hell is this program I use? It's like screen something-o-matic is what I use to record, Screencast-o-matic, and then I also have the TechSmith software, and then I use some Adobe stuff, but Chris definitely, Richard, I will definitely tell my mom she can come see you. So,
well, you asked if I could throw a ban on Little Shit, and I can't see him in the comments. I don't know who that was, but
he may have took off. But anyway, you know, I appreciate everybody who's sticking around. Obviously, you all believe that I have good enough content that you don't. You know, that you're overlooking the poor quality of some of my videos. And I appreciate that because I'm, it's getting better all the time.
Let's see if I can ban him. I don't know. I don't even know how to ban people. Where did he go? Let's see if I can ban this guy. No, that doesn't work. I don't know how to ban someone. It'd be a good learning experience.
Yeah. Jacob asked, Howie, can you just delete those old videos with no audio? They are infuriating. I think, great, a tutorial for what I need, and then no audio. Can you not read English? Just wondering. If you can't, let me know. And I'm just projecting there. I am going to be redoing those videos. So I'm not going to delete them though. They're still getting a lot of views, and they're still helping a lot of people. So
I figured it out. All right, let's see. Let's scroll back. I'm going to find little shit here. Watch this. So drop the ban on him. Block user. There you go. User blocked.
That's awesome.
All right, good. That's funny. Sorry, guys. We're figuring out this live stream stuff still. But at least I know. See, like I said, you learn something. You learn something every day. How much do you pay for Adobe Premiere Pro? So that's a good question. And it's funny because it's interesting. Like when you have a business. And like I said, this is the first, when I started this, I was not an expert in independent consulting, and I wasn't an expert in running a business or anything like that. But there's so many costs that you don't actually anticipate. And like that's one of the things. So my Adobe license, I have just whatever the monthly Adobe Creative Suite 6 license, and it's I think around $50 or like $53 a month or something. So it's a lot of money. Another good question: how do you guys find time for your families? So yeah, I mean it's a lot of work. I work every day from usually about 9 till 4. That's kind of my regular schedule every day, and then I hang out with my family from like 4 until 8, and then at 8 p.m. Probably 4 to 5 days out of the week I come back to work until about midnight. So it's tough, but I have that like 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. block where we're having dinner and spending time with the family and stuff.
That's a very similar schedule, and I would have to say that my wife is very understanding.
Yeah, good. Come on, guys, you can download Premiere for free. So I do not advocate pirating software in any way, shape, or form. Look, guys, people pay, spend a lot of time and effort making those software. Even a big company like Adobe, it costs them a lot of money to put out Creative Suite 6 or Creative Suite, whatever it's called. Not Creative Suite 6, like Creative Cloud. It's like CC. I forget what it's exactly called, but yeah, I pay for the software that I use. TeamViewer license cost me $750. Adobe cost me $50 a month. I don't pay for Microsoft. I just use I have one Microsoft license, but and it's on this computer. For the rest of my computers, I just use like LibreOffice or OpenOffice or one, I don't know, whatever one it is. And then but pay for your software, guys.
And I just bought Adobe Photoshop and Premiere Elements. They had it was like a 30% off deal, and I paid $149.99, one shot, one kill, and own it forever.
Yeah, I like the Creative Cloud because I'm always updated. I pay a monthly cost, and it costs me $600 a year for that software. But I also make videos. I try to make 2 videos a week for YouTube, so I'm using it constantly.
Yep. What else we got?
TeamViewer licensing is terrible, by the way. I agree with you on the TeamViewer licensing. I'm on TeamViewer 11, and they just came out with 12, and I'm getting to the point where I've got other guys that work for me that need to use TeamViewer as well, or some sort of remote desktop software. And I did a video on when TeamViewer got hacked. It turns out it wasn't actually TeamViewer that got hacked. It was, I guess, something else got hacked, and people were using the same passwords for TeamViewer, and that's how they got compromised. But there was a bunch of comments on that video. If you go back and look at it, people that recommended various different remote desktop programs, and so I will probably switch to one of those. And in fact, I had one in mind that I was going to switch to, or at least consider strongly the next time I'm looking to upgrade. And I forget what it is offhand, but I would go back to that video and look through the comments, and you get a lot of good recommendations. Which, by the way, is my favorite thing about having a YouTube channel is the audience participation and the comments that I get, and I learn more in the comments from you guys than researching something online, because you're giving me real opinions about your experiences with different products and services. So it's great.
Jacob Graff did bring up Screen Connect. And I did use them until they were purchased by another company and the licensing fee went up. But if you are doing non-commercial work, they now have a free version.
Oh, is that right?
Yep.
It's not raining right now, but it's supposed to rain tonight out here in Oregon, by the way. Check out HitFilm 4 Express. It's a free video editing software you can learn on, then go to Adobe Premiere Pro. Well, I'm actually a pretty... I'm not going to say I'm a very... I'm a decent video editor. I'm not the world's best video editor. I could do a lot more video editing with my videos, but I don't want to take the time to do it. I want the videos just to get done and get out. So I don't put a ton of effort into like fancy editing techniques and stuff on my videos.
Well, and you can probably tell, based on the quality between your video and my video, I don't spend near as much time on the editing and all that, but I'm quickly heading in that direction.
Yeah. Well, the lighting helps a lot. I mean, like I said, just being front lit instead of backlit is it's key.
Right. All right, let's see. Some more questions. Somebody says, using an APAC Pro, any downside of using 40 megahertz on 2.4 or 80 megahertz on the 5 gigahertz connectivity with older devices?
All right, I'll be right back. I'll let you answer that.
So, who asked that question? That was Nundetti. The first thing, do you know what the different channel bandwidths do for you? It's basically you get more throughput. As far as are there connectivity with older devices, I can't give an honest answer to that. So if somebody in the chat has any input for that, please throw that in there. Chris or Willie, are you planning on moving to Canada now that Trump has won the election? I can't unread that, but I'm not going to answer it. Let's see. Is air fiber really worth the money? Absolutely, 100% worth the money. Willie, ever thought of doing videos on VMware? Adam, yes, I have. There's some videos out there, and I don't know how much traction I can make in that arena, but I definitely have thought about that. What is my personal opinion on HP ProLiant servers? I used to be huge into HP, but I have started looking at other vendors. Chris uses Supermicro. I've been looking at Supermicro. I've got Supermicros in the rack back here.
I like Supermicros.
Yeah,
I've found them to be really solid servers. Even their lower end, like the small, like half depth 1U servers and stuff. I think those are great. I like them a lot.
So back to the air fiber, because I'm seeing some comments on that. My last air fiber deployment was to connect a remote site to a main site, so it wasn't like a WISP or an ISP type deployment, but they are getting 600 megabits throughput, send and receive, through the magic that is air fiber, and they've got voice over IP running over that. They've got video running over that, and soon we are virtualizing their server and moving that to the other location. And it is absolutely rock solid.
Can configure zero handoff on newly bought APACs, ACAPs, and do they need to be older model APs? Many thanks. So I personally have not had a ton of luck with zero handoff, nor have I really found situations where it's completely necessary.
I don't use zero handoff.
Yeah, so there's two guys who use Ubiquiti on a fairly regular basis that are telling you that zero handoff is not all it's cracked up to be.
Well, the thing is, you got 1 in 100,000 people actually may need it, and can they tell you exactly why they need it? You know, like if your cell sizes are appropriate and your network is set up properly, your clients should roam seamlessly anyway, for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jacob did say he says zero handoff is junk. I have seen a lot of problems with zero handoff. It's another one of those things that's kind of thrown in there, and people turn it on, they don't understand what it is, and then it doesn't work right, and this is a piece of shit. No, it's not a piece of shit. You don't know how to use it. You don't know why you're using it.
Right. It's one of those things that is good in theory. And sorry, it sounds like my mic has gotten a little bit lower. Mic has dropped off. You sound further away from the mic, although your position is the same before. It happened after you stepped away. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Maybe it's better now. Anyways, someone else said, what is your opinion of the new mesh access points? And I know Willie probably can't talk about it. I can talk about it since I'm not under NDA and I haven't ever played with them. I'm interested in getting my hands on them and checking them out. Like I said, I have no opinion on a device until I actually put my hands on it and test it out. So I'm looking forward to buying some. They're not quite available yet. They're back ordered everywhere, and I don't even think they're out yet or available yet. So
no, they are not. Hector, Hector is great. He says air fiber is great. Keep in mind though that 24 gigahertz is more susceptible to rain fade, and that is 100% right. And so, and Hector, if you can chime in, I haven't deployed the AirFiber 24 HD. Do those have a 5 gigahertz failover built in? I don't know that.
What's your thoughts about MikroTik stuff? So I did one MikroTik video on my channel because it's a really inexpensive router that has a lot of powerful capabilities. My thoughts on MikroTik, I don't have a ton of experience with them. I feel like the model numbers for MikroTik devices are incredibly confusing.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
I don't like having to go through a learning curve just to figure out which device I want to buy. Right? So that's number one mark against MikroTik. But the software itself, it certainly seems very powerful. And once I had the device and I was configuring it, it certainly did everything that I wanted it to do. And it looked like it could do a lot more than I would ever need it to do. But I pretty much set it up and I got it working. And I never touched it again.
The one thing that, I'm going to do some videos on it, as well. The one thing that I didn't, that I'm not real hot on, is the different licensing levels. I'm not a fan of that, so I don't know how much play I'll get, how much deployment I'll actually get.
How does handoff between APs work? Does it switch to the stronger signal access point when it becomes 5149? That's a great question. I actually don't know the answer to that. I don't know how it works.
So it's going to depend on how you've got like your min RSSI set up. You can actually force the access points to release the clients at a certain level of weakness, so to speak. And that's another one of those things that you need to tweak for your environment.
So min RSSI is just measured in what? Is that measured in like?
If you can pull it up, pull up your access point here in UniFi.
Okay. Oh, there.
And then if you go to the configuration of the radios, I can't remember if it's the radios or the WLANs because I'm not.
Yeah, right here. So it's DBMs, and then you can set your minimum RSSI on both 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz to something, and then if it drops below this signal strength, it will disconnect the client?
It'll move you to the next access point that satiates the requirements.
But if you only have one access point, like in my situation, what does it do in that case?
I don't know. That's a I don't know if you would keep disconnecting and reconnecting. I don't know. I'm assuming that your device would try to re-authenticate. That's a good question. I honestly don't know. No one's ever asked that. I've never seen that come up anywhere. Anybody out there in Chatland have an answer for that?
All right. In the meantime, you guys both do consulting. The difference is that I do consulting full time, and Willie does consulting as on the side. What is your typical who is your typical customer, and are your rates competitive enough for a small business? So my customers tend to be a little bit more technical in nature. Usually I'm dealing directly with an IT guy for a company that's just getting into phone systems, or they're just getting into Ubiquiti gear, and or oftentimes I work with MSPs. The reason for that, though, is because all of my advertising for my business comes through YouTube, right? So people that are watching YouTube for these technical videos are the people that are going to find me. And so that's why in most cases I am speaking with technical people, which is good. Well, it's good and bad, I guess, because like we were talking about earlier, sometimes people are know-it-alls, and if you guys ever go want to see a video on my thoughts on consulting in general, I did do a video called Tips for IT Consulting a while back, and it was a pretty long video. I think it was like 30 or 40 minute long video where I talk about my experiences getting into consulting and what I think are some of the best tips for consulting. And one of those tips for consulting is, the nice thing about doing consulting is that you have customers and you're forming a relationship with these customers, right? It's not, there's all kinds of relationships in this world, but this is one of the kinds of relationship, the consultant and customer relationship. And there has to be a good fit there, right? And if there's not, you're not going to have a good experience. The customer's going to have a bad experience with you, and you're going to be resentful of that customer anytime they're calling you and reaching out to you. So I try to make sure there's a good fit right off the bat. When I'm first working with a customer, I'm sort of not only feeling out if they're going to be a good customer in terms of what they're asking for and what they need my advice for, what their level of knowledge is, that sort of stuff, but I'm also determining just their general demeanor, and is this someone that I want to do work for? Right? And as a consultant, you have the ability to say no to customers. And again, we talked about a little bit earlier in this live stream, some customers do get pissed off when you tell them, no, I'm not willing to work for you. But much better to determine that as early as possible and sort of rip that Band-Aid off and move on with your life than it is to get stuck in a situation where you've got a customer that's not good for you and you're not good for the customer.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. And Chris is right. I don't do consulting. I don't do it full time. I do it part time. I have similar clients to what Chris would have, but then I also deal with international customers, whereas Chris does not.
Yeah.
Hector does tell us that AirFiber 24 HD does not have the 5 gigahertz backup, and I think Brandon commented on that as well.
What gear would you go for if there wasn't Ubiquiti on the market? That's a good question. If there wasn't Ubiquiti on the market, I would probably, being that I really like open source stuff, I would probably be a pfSense guy, I imagine. Although I'm saying that without having ever actually worked on a pfSense box. It's something that I'd like to get into. I'd love to learn pfSense. But just from what I've heard about it and from people that I've talked to that use it, that seems probably up my alley more than something like a Cisco would be. So yeah, I guess that's the answer to that. As far as wireless, I don't know. I really am not a huge fan of Meraki. I have worked with Meraki. I don't like them that much. I would probably be more of a Ruckus guy, but I don't know. Again, I've never used Ruckus. I see Willie cringing, but I have not used Ruckus, but I would certainly check them out. I don't know. There's no really good cost-effective enterprise Wi-Fi solutions that I know of other than Ubiquiti.
I do see Open Mesh coming up quite a bit, and I do like Open Mesh. I don't know how much you've used them, but I'm like you. I love open source, and so I'm moving away from Cisco. I'm moving away from I like Juniper. I mean, the thing is, all of those other companies that we talked about, when you take a look at this guy, right? Here's an Edge router. Here's an Edge router X. This thing cost me $50 delivered to the house, right? an ASA, which I can replace ASAs if you're just doing site-to-site VPN. I can replace ASAs that cost at a minimum $500 with a $50 device all day long. So, I mean, it's all about perspective, requirements. I mean, there are sites that will tell you we have to use Cisco because that's how their policies are written. So, Chris is right. I mean, you have to evaluate each customer in each situation.
So I haven't worked a lot with Open Mesh, although I see a bunch of people have said Open Mesh, or maybe it was the same guy saying it over and over. But I have seen. So what exactly? So Open Mesh, I assume, is just an open source controller, so to speak, that you can attach multiple different access points to, different brands of access points to.
No, so Open Mesh they are their own hardware. And their controller is cloud based, and they don't charge you for access to it. And it was the first, I guess, true mesh wireless system that I deployed. And you basically register the MAC address of the devices you buy out on their cloud service, and it adopts them. And you can, I mean, I think Ubiquiti is going to give them a run for their money. But I mean, for people deploying mesh right now, I'd like to know. I'll bet they've got hundreds of thousands of access points deployed.
Cloud managed, though. I mean, there is something to be said about having an on-site management for your Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? Like, I guess it probably doesn't matter as long as it's like. So, for instance, I use cloud-hosted UniFi controller for a number of my customers. This one here is a cloud. This is running in Amazon AWS, but the access points do have the ability, if you make a change to them, that the configuration stays with the access point once you've made that change, right? If you lose internet connectivity to the cloud-hosted controller, it's not like your access points go offline, right? So I guess it doesn't matter in this day and age if it's all cloud-based, but it's interesting that is it only cloud-based, or do they have like a similar to CloudKey type of solution?
As far as I know, there's no on-premise. And, having come from the Cisco world where everything tunnels back through the controller, and then going, oh, hey, we can do the same thing with VLANs, and ACLs. I don't like my controller hosted in the cloud. I help a lot of people who use AWS. But if you've got more than a couple access points on there, when you start looking at what that costs you, I mean, with the Ubiquiti cloud-based service, you're better off to buy a cloud key for $75 and, throw it in your network. I mean, if you're looking at it from a cost standpoint.
Yeah. Someone asked an interesting question about what stuff do you guys not recommend, right? And so I'm in most cases, I'd say that you can make a lot of hardware do what you want it to do. You know what I mean? Again, like we were talking about earlier, it just comes down to, in a lot of cases, it just comes down to personal preference, right? But there are some stuff, especially in the voice over IP world, that I 100% stay away from. Number one is sonic wall firewalls. Sonic wall firewalls are notoriously terrible at managing voice over IP, and so I run for the hills when I see someone that has a sonic wall firewall. I don't even want to deal with it. Someone else mentioned that they have ingenious access points that they had up for a couple years on a farm or something. I have not had spectacular experience with ingenious devices, so I probably wouldn't recommend those. I have much better luck with Ubiquiti, though I don't have a ton of experience with ingenious. I've replaced a couple of them because they weren't working well. I replaced them with Ubiquiti, and now it's great. I guess what else? Those are pretty much the things that I kind of just stay away from. I'm not interested in anything that has a ridiculous licensing model or annual maintenance contracts that are like 1/5 the cost of the device year over year over year. I hate that. I don't like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that.
SonicWall was great before Dell bought them. Yeah, but Dell doesn't own them anymore, I believe. I think they got bought out again. Oh yeah, look, someone else just said that too. SonicWall just got sold again.
Ooh, who owns SonicWall now?
I think it's like some investment firm or something. So someone else asked a little bit higher up, what instance size do you use on your AWS? and I am using it's either a small or a medium instance size. But to be honest, I am going to, well, I'll put it this way. I think it's about $55 a month for my hosted Amazon AWS. But to be honest, I am trying to find the time. I have since discovered DigitalOcean, and I really, really like DigitalOcean. Since I started working with DigitalOcean, I really, really, really like them. I cannot speak enough for the user experience of DigitalOcean versus Amazon AWS. Amazon AWS is a clusterfuck. There's so many different things. I mean, granted, it's a lot of functionality that you can do with it. But if I just want to throw up a virtual server and, install FreePBX on it or install UniFi on it or something like that, I want it to be simple, and I don't want to have to go through a learning curve to use your product. Right? I hate that. So I really, really like DigitalOcean because not only is it easy, they have this like one-page wizard. Hey, this is your OS. This is the size that you're going to do. This is what it's going to cost you per month. And then boom, there you go. And then on top of that, DigitalOcean has tons and tons and tons of basically hey, you just installed CentOS 6 on a DigitalOcean droplet. Here are the first steps you should go through to secure it, to set it up so that you can authenticate with SSH keys, or secure keys, I mean. Here's the first things that you should install, blah, blah, blah. They've got really good end-user documentation, clear end-user documentation for all of their products. So I just really, really am in love with DigitalOcean, and I will be, as soon as I have the time, moving my entire UniFi controller over to DigitalOcean, where I can get the same specs in terms of CPU and RAM that I'm paying for $55 a month to Amazon. I would be paying about $20 a month to DigitalOcean.
Yeah, I agree with that. DigitalOcean comes up a lot when people ask me about hosted UniFi controllers.
Yeah, I'm doing my first deployment of UniFi controller for a 3-site UniFi controller on DigitalOcean using their $5 a month instance, and we're about to kick that project off. Actually, we just kicked it off yesterday. So, I'm after that project. If that project goes well, I'm going to put out a video. I think maybe even a series of videos on why I think DigitalOcean is so awesome.
And I heard that the support over there specifically for the Ubiquiti controller is top shelf. I haven't experienced, but it's something that I keep seeing over and over again.
Yeah. There's really a lot to be said for companies that put a lot of effort into user interface and documentation. Okay? Because if you make it really easy for your customers to use your product, then you're going to keep those customers for a long, long, long time. Mm-hmm. Right? It was one of the, I heard at one point that Dropbox had a team of something it was some ridiculous number of people, 50 people or something, that were only focused on the user experience of Dropbox. Which is that makes so much sense. Put a ton of effort into making your product easy to use and intuitive for your customers. Too many of these products that come out, the user interfaces are designed by the engineers who made the product. And engineers don't speak the same language as end users. Not even close, right? So you get products where it's not intuitive. It's only intuitive to an engineer, right? And that's not a good product, right? So, anyways.
Well, and if you want to know,
they're saying Pied Piper is better than Dropbox. Are you referring to Pied Piper, Silicon Valley Pied Piper? Because that is actually not a real product.
I don't know if you know this, but Dropbox was actually using AWS, and then they've spent a lot of money to create their own infrastructure and start migrating away from AWS.
Yeah. So any opinion on Windows Server 2016? I have not used Windows. I don't administer Windows servers in my daily life, thank God. So I have not touched Windows Server 2016 yet. I used to do a lot of Windows administration back in the day when I had Active Directory and Exchange and all of that sort of stuff. And it's a lot. It's a whole separate area of IT that, requires keeping up with and learning a lot about. So at one point I was very good at it, and that has been a long time since I've been very good at Windows administration.
I think what you're going to see with Server 2016 is Microsoft. This is more of their advancement of trying to get people to move into the cloud. So I have stopped. I'm on 2012 for a lot of my deployments, and I'm still evaluating 2016. But I think that it ties in with Windows 10, where Microsoft is really not making any bones about the fact that they are moving into this totally cloud-based, and they're making money off of services rather than operating systems.
Yeah. Well, Microsoft's always been about licensing, and you almost have to be an expert in Microsoft licensing.
It's a train wreck.
Yeah, even that is like you have to be. There should be a certification for just learning Microsoft licensing. You know what I mean?
It'd be the hardest damn certification you've ever taken.
Yeah, because it's very confusing and convoluted, and I am actually very glad that I don't have to deal with Windows Server in my daily life. But I'll tell you one thing that bugs the shit out of me is the fact that you cannot manually restart your computer for updates with Windows 10. I hate that it automatically reboots my computer from time to time. I can't. That's the worst thing that they've done to Windows 10. Well,
and then they just randomly decide what applications should be on your computer and what shouldn't too. Yeah. That's a little annoying.
Yeah, well, and that though you can mostly get rid of. If you watch my Securing Windows 10 video, I go through like how to remove all of the pre-installed Windows 10 applications, and some you can't remove, but by and large you can get rid of most of that.
Well, and I'm even talking about third-party applications that you install yourself. The updates have been known to uninstall software. In fact, if you go back, there was an instance where people are running the UniFi server on Windows 10, and there was an update, and it removed the service. So,
wow.
Mark in the comments says, "I believe Microsoft has a certification just for their licensing."
Oh, so maybe. Oh, I guess they do. Interesting.
It's 2016, so nothing surprises me.
So, Bob, I've tried to find that setting where it tells it to where it notifies me, and it does notify you. It notifies you for a while, but eventually it will reboot if you ignore it long enough. There was another good question in there. What about Linux? Which distro do you like to use? Do servers on it? So, I use two main distros. CentOS 6 for free PBX. CentOS 6/CentOS 7. I'm very well versed in that one. And then on the UniFi side, if I'm building my own UniFi controllers or UniFi Video or any of that, I use Ubuntu Server 1404 LTS.
And I either use Ubuntu or Debian.
I have not switched over my desktop to Linux yet, and I don't think I can. Because a lot of the stuff that I do, especially Adobe, I don't think they have Adobe products in Linux, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. I've never looked, to be honest with you, because I use open source equivalents of the Adobe programs.
OBDS, why 1404 over 16? It's because UniFi doesn't install in 16. How do you manage all of your customers? Do you log into every single... Do you log... Oh, shit. Just comments are coming by too fast. Do you log into every single on a different login account? Every single... Well, I mean, in UniFi, I've got... If they're on my controller, they're just on my controller, and I've got different sites for every customer. If you look at UniFi, you've got your sites right here. And you can see a list of people that I've got, right? I don't want to expose that too much because people are not going to go back and freeze frame that, see who all my customers are. But you can just, you've got a list of different, you can have multiple sites on your UniFi controller. And so then I've got one single login. Now, interesting question, though, on the PBX side. So on the free PBX side, I just implemented a custom solution for managing customer PBX systems where I've got integrated into Suite CRM. I can put my customers into Suite CRM, and then their free PBX, there's a little tiny client that goes onto each free PBX in Linux that checks in with my CRM once a minute. And then if in the CRM I check a box to enable the VPN tunnel, a remote free PBX server VPNs into my CRM server, and then I am also VPN'd into the CRM server. So now I have access to my customers' free PBX boxes remotely. And that has been really good because, instead of having to like schedule a time to do a TeamViewer remote session to get in there and do it, for the customers that opt into that program where I can, access their box at will basically, they can send me an email like, hey, I need this extension updated or whatever, and I don't have to schedule time to do that. I can just take care of it. And that's been really, really awesome. And in fact, it's a product that we developed that we might actually turn into an actual product for MSPs that manage large numbers of Linux-based servers.
Somebody up above asked, what do we use for content filtering? And if you've been over on my channel, you see where I've talked about using Barracuda, some Linux distributions called Endian or Untangle. Done some content filtering on the Edge router, but mostly I use DNS-based services, and I do use not OpenDNS, I use a DNS filter, and I see Hector was commenting on that as well.
So there was a good question that someone seconded there. It was, what are your top 3 feature requests for UniFi or Edge OS? So I'll tell you right off the top of my head, I wish that Edge OS allowed you to do client-to-server VPN without a radius server. So I wish it allowed you to do user-based authentication for clients connecting in via VPN. I wish you could do that via the GUI instead of via the backend. That's number 1. I also, someone in I think it was the UniFi video, they commented, they said a really good idea. In UniFi, you get these green bubbles here, right? And they said it would be great if the Edge router still maintained its local GUI, but just had the ability to pass traffic statistics so that you could light up these bubbles over to your UniFi controller. And I think that is brilliant. I think that would be a wonderful idea. It would probably sell a lot more product too. So then I could be on the Edge router, but have it just shoot the statistics over. And it's not like that's totally unheard of. I mean, SNMP's been around forever, where you can remotely monitor, servers. There's all kinds of ways to do it. Why can't they just open it up so that make a little section of the Edge router that says, hey, do you have a UniFi controller? Enter the IP or FQDN here, and we will push our statistics out to your UniFi controller. That would be awesome.
Yeah, and there is, there's always these little rumblings, these little, little rumors, that they are going to have a single pane view for the Edge products. I've not seen any timeline or a beta or anything. So if you're still looking for that single pane with the green, all the green on the screen there, then for now you're with UniFi.
Yeah. The other thing that I wish they would have is in the Edge router, I wish, and of course this is coming from a voice over IP guy, right? But I wish they would have the ability to set option 66 right in the DHCP server options, as opposed to having to do it in the CLI or through the config tree wizard.
Well, and though, what we could do, Chris, is we could write a wizard for that. They have it they've got that the instructions out there. We could write a wizard and insert it for additional DHCP options.
Interesting. Well, I'm not going to take the effort to do that because it's easy enough just to do it with the config tree. But it would be nice if I could just say, whoop, there we go. There's my TFTP server.
Right.
So USG versus Edge Router Lite is just a different GUI? I think we've touched on that one enough. Go back and watch the beginning of this live stream. You'll see a bunch of comparison of the... oh, no, I guess we were doing the switches, though. But
Yeah.
I did a video on USG versus Edge router. You can check that video out on my channel. It's a little dated now, but it's still pretty accurate.
Jacob says OpenVPN config exporting GUI is my #1 request. I second that if my vote counts.
It doesn't. Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah. Yep, sure. I get a lot of questions about site-to-site VPN. That is one thing where I think having USGs is a distinct advantage, because creating site-to-site VPN in UniFi is incredibly easy. It's very easy to do. Yeah, it's like 2 clicks. It's so simple. Versus the Edge router, they do have site-to-site VPN capability in the GUI of the Edge router. However, I prefer to still do it in the CLI. I feel like it gives you a little bit more control, and I've had instances where the site-to-site VPN setup in the GUI does not work, but it does work when you do it via the CLI. So I kind of just default to doing it via the CLI.
Yeah, and you know what, Chris? I don't know how many requests do you get, but I'll bet you I get 5 requests a week for people that want to see a simpler way, and basically just an instructional video on how to do OpenVPN with different service providers.
I don't really get a lot of that. I don't hear about people asking for OpenVPN too much.
Really?
I get a lot of requests for show how to do site-to-site VPN in Ubiquiti, either USG or Edge router. I do get that request quite often, but I haven't really had any people just request like OpenVPN videos in general.
Yeah, I get that a lot, I don't know. I haven't done one. It's on my list, but it's not high on my priority, because most of these people that want the videos, they're not. I get the feeling that they're trying to bypass some sort of law by doing it, and so I don't know how much I want to have my hand in that.
So Anthony asks, recommendations for a point-to-point where power isn't available, remote site with PoE cameras. I mean, that's a problem. You don't have power at the remote site, you're pretty limited with what you can do. I mean, solar. You could do solar. But, yeah, I think you're hosed if you don't have power at the remote site.
Solar is a fantastic option. And if you saw the Wispapalooza stuff, Ubiquiti now has off-grid solar that's coming. So you could, you could look at that.
What is that? I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, I can't remember if it's called Solar Beam or something. I saw some screenshots of it. I started asking questions. And so, they've got the SunMax, which is the on-grid stuff where you have to do net metering. But then they also now are introducing this off-grid. So that's all the details that I have at this point, is the pictures and the questions that I asked.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that develops.
So someone asked, Chris, what happened to the Harbor Freight solar kit that you bought? So I did. I bought a Harbor Freight solar kit with a battery and an inverter, and it was my intention to set it up so that I could do a point-to-point, wireless bridge with the one of the sides being completely powered by solar, and then string an access point off of it. However, it's just one of those things where it's time permitting, and so I never found the time. And I also live in Oregon, where it's not that sunny all the time. So the situation hasn't happened yet where I've got free time and I've got sun outside in order to sort of start playing around with it. And I know I don't need sun to actually set it up and play around with it, but that's just it. Time got away from me. So what is the status of that thing? It is sitting in a box in my garage still. I have not even opened it.
You want to just send it to me and I'll do it?
It's very heavy and expensive to ship that around, but you can it'd probably be cheaper for you to fly out here and play with it.
I'll send you some cookies or something.
I don't want your cookies, Willie.
Hector made a good point. He said, I think people use OpenVPN to get past geolocation bias for stuff like Netflix, Amazon Prime, Pandora, etc.
Yeah, I heard that Netflix is blocking people that are coming across VPN now, though.
Yep, they are dropping the ban hammer. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I use private internet access for VPN proxy, and I love that product, and it works really well.
let's see. Somebody said Sunmax ? If you cruise on over to www.ubnt.com, you can get more information about Sunmax. And it is Ubiquiti's entry into solar. Comes in at about $1.50 a watt, which is quite a bit less expensive than other solutions. And they basically walk you through everything. They have training to get you certified. They will do all the documentation for you to get all the permits that you need. They have software that is free to access where you can design the layouts. So just head on over there and check it out. I don't know that we want to spend a lot of time on that.
So it's funny about that. I mean, like, I think that they're getting into the solar game, and they're really pushing hard on it. You know, Ubiquiti released a series of videos specifically geared towards solar integrators about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it was, like Willie was saying, they're going to help you determine what you need to buy. They're going to help you do the site survey, basically, with tools and software and remote assistance. And they're going to help you even to the point where I believe Ubiquiti will provide some assistance in terms of figuring out what credits and promotions are available in your local area for solar. And what I don't know what the exact word is when you're getting money back from the government or discounts on whatever, but they will help you figure a lot of that stuff out. And that's really interesting that they're going that far with it, considering that the customer service on a lot of their other stuff sucks, right? So I think it's just the fact that the solar revolution is coming, so to speak, and I'm really interested in that whole thing, although I haven't gotten into it that much. But did you see Elon Musk's glass tile solar roofing system that they just came out with?
It's going to change the market.
So
I
cool.
mean, your entire roof becomes your solar.
Yeah, which is brilliant, by the way. It's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I mean, and did you see the I didn't see the video, but a guy that works for me saw, apparently they were showing how strong these tiles are, and it takes an immense amount of force to break them. And so, I mean, once they figure that out, I mean, holy cow.
Yeah, well, I like the approach that Ubiquiti took to solar, where it's very modular and very easy to install and stuff. I love that, but I'm more intrigued by Tesla's version, because it's cooler and it looks better, and obviously it requires you changing your entire roof as opposed to being just an add-on to the roof, but yeah, it's cool. I'm impressed with that. I'm actually looking down the road when it comes to buy a new car. I'm interested in even buying a Tesla 3 or Tesla 5 when the time comes.
Well, think about it. I don't know what the warranty for those shingles, how they're going to do that, but if you look at current solar players, the warranty on the panels, I think, is 20 years. So if I'm covering my entire roof, does that mean my roof now has a 20-year warranty? I mean, that's something else to look at.
Yeah, that's interesting. By
the way, I would love to have a Tesla, and a lady that I work with keeps telling me she's going to put $1,000 down on the new one because one of her neighbors has one. So if anybody out there that's watching us has a Tesla and you want to let me drive it, I'm not going to tell you that.
Yeah. It's funny that, and again, you start talking about solar, and you start talking, solar very quickly leads to the green revolution, which very quickly leads to climate change, which very quickly leads to political stuff. So, without going too far down that road, it's really interesting to see solar coming of age, and it's also interesting to not only see the progress that they're making, but it's interesting to see the progress that's being halted by the opposing force. So it's really an interesting. I like solar for many reasons, and that's another one. It's just watching the whole thing unfold.
Well, look at how Tesla is being. I don't know if you're like me, Chris, and buzzwords sometimes they get overused, but the word disruptive. I mean, they've got all these car dealerships pissed off at them because they're selling direct to consumer, so they're disruptive there. But I mean, when was the last time that your daily driver had a problem, and overnight the company could deliver a software patch that would fix the problem.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm looking at Tesla. I mean, I think it's besides that. I mean, I love the fact that they're software firmware upgradable, but I also love the the automatic driving features, and I love that it's something that's just going to get better and better as time goes on.
It's you hook up Google's new AI that successfully navigated the London Tube by itself. And put that in your Tesla, Chris. I mean, you'll have your own chauffeur 24/7.
Yeah, it's just a matter of now what do you want to spend on it? Because I think like the Tesla SUV is like $100,000 or something, isn't it? And the Tesla 5 is like up there too, 60, 70 grand. The Tesla 3 I think is in the $40,000 range. I don't know a lot about it, but
well, I mean, the next question you should be asking is, do they want check or cash?
Right. It's from all of the money that I make on reselling Ubiquiti equipment.
That's I was going to say, it's these YouTube dollars you got rolling in.
Well, and the joke there for anyone who didn't catch it is that I make literally $0 on reselling Ubiquiti equipment. As much as I like Ubiquiti, I am nowhere near the size where I could be a distributor that makes any kind of margin on those products. So if you're buying Ubiquiti from me and I'm setting it up for you, I'm just buying it online like everyone else.
Yep, that's exactly it. Yeah. So Chris and I should put our life savings together and become a distributor.
Yeah,
only if all of our subscribers promise to only buy from us.
Yeah. Well, I asked them about becoming a distributor. They have like a form you can fill out online, and I could feel that they were laughing at me.
We'll have to see how that works out. So are you gonna buy some SunMax, Chris? Is that
No, I don't think so. Again, I live in Oregon, right? So it's a lot harder to justify solar when the residual output of that solar is so diminished by the fact that it's cloudy all the time.
Right.
It's I don't know if it's quite worth it yet for where I live. Now, I've only lived in Oregon for 3 years. Prior to living in Oregon, I lived in Los Angeles. If I were still in Los Angeles, 100% I'd be considering solar. If I lived in Los Angeles still, I would probably be a solar installer and reseller. Like I would probably be doing those projects in addition to free PBX and the networking stuff, because it's very lucrative out there as opposed to where I live now.
Right. Well, and here's a little tidbit for everybody that's watching. If you go out to the Ubiquiti site and you sign up and you join the community, the certification and the training for the solar is free. So if you want to learn about solar and you want to learn about Ubiquiti and what they're doing, drive on over to www.ubnt.com and check it out.
So someone asked a couple times here, do you keep your customer gear up to the date with the latest firmware, or do you not bother as long as they really work?
I do.
So I don't. So there's a difference between us. Now, the reason that I don't is because mostly just because I'm a one-man operation and I've got so many customers that it would almost be another person's, at least part-time job to manage all of that. If I happen to be working on a customer's servers, maybe I installed something for them 2-3 months ago and now they need a change and I'm going to be actually physically touching their servers, then yes, I will typically update them to the latest stable version of firmware. But by and large, I just leave it alone.
And I build basically maintenance contracts around that service. So it's just a little bit of a difference in the delivery mechanism that Chris and I have.
Yeah. And again, it's something that I'd like to, but I don't, there's a lot of, again, just like anything in IT, there's a million ways to do it, and there's a million ways to run your business. One of the things that I don't do as a consultant is I don't provide maintenance contracts for my customers, either on the PBX side or on the Ubiquiti side or anything. I don't do maintenance contracts. And the reason that I don't do maintenance contracts is because when you do a maintenance contract, you are... I'm not always available immediately, right? If someone needs emergency support on something or their PBX goes down, if I'm out of town and they have a maintenance contract with me and I can't get to their server on time, I don't want to set up the expectation with that customer that I'm going to be immediately available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's just what it boils down to. So what about mini wind turbines? I have looked into that a little bit, but I'd like the price to come down a little bit more. I think for a decent-sized mini wind turbine, you're still looking at about a $2,500 to $3,000 investment, and there's a lot of other things in line that I could spend $3,000 on before I get to a mini wind turbine.
That's a lot of beer.
I'm not talking about beer. I just mean like I need my kitchen needs to be redone.
Oh, wow.
So there's stuff that comes ahead of that.
Somebody made a comment. Well, Hector said even when you keep them up to date all the time, it's best to have a local controller that you use for testing the latest stable firmware. That is correct. That is why my lab is so big, because I break things here so I don't break them there.
Right.
And I will tell you, things still break there.
Yeah.
I try to prepare for as much as I can, but if you've been in IT for any length of time, you've probably heard, well, in theory, or it should.
Yeah.
We
Sure.
we say that a lot.
Well, and it's also even if you do keep customers' servers up to date all the time, that's not a guarantee against something bad happening, right? I had a customer this week. They have a free PBX. It's an older model that doesn't have the built-in firewall. It's a version 12 free PBX, and it is run on a cloud-hosted server. And as much as I've set up IP tables and as much as I've set up, security measures that I've put in place, and they are fully up to date. They have been. That is one of the customers that I actually do keep up to date on a regular basis. They were still hacked. They were hacked with a PHP exploit, right? It had nothing to do with anything other than, someone found a web GUI open to the internet, which, by the way, I don't recommend. Yes, again, I do have some customers that have their web GUI open to the internet, but I certainly do not recommend that for everyone. In fact, most customers, 90% plus of customers, don't have to have any ports exposed whatsoever for free PBX to work well. But this customer happened to, and they got hacked with a PHP exploit. So it can happen, and they were fully up to date. So it's not like it was, it's not something that they will find a way to get into your server somehow.
Jacob asked if I had any lab setup tips not to mess with my main network. And if you saw my main network, it is literally an Edge Router X and an access point. All the other gear that you see me working with is part of my lab.
Yeah, my lab is basically my main network, but I run most of my test stuff off of a separate... So the Edge Router Lite is my main firewall, and so ETH0 is my internet, ETH1 is my main LAN, and then ETH2 is my sort of testing stuff. And then I also use VLANs as well for additional networks.
Hector says, now what I would want to see is a way to back up a specific site and a multi-site cloud controller so that you can restore a specific site to that controller.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I don't know that exists, but if you're in the beta, which you can, I have seen, I think in the controller that I'm running, the beta, not the alpha, the beta, where you can export sites.
And yes, for all the people saying that you can VPN into the local network and all around that blah, 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 yes, you're absolutely right, you can. But this is a cloud-hosted server. There is no local network. And so, yeah, it's open. And I have locked it down, by the way, at this point, with IP tables to just authorize WAN IP addresses.
You know what? Here is... something that I would like to add. Somebody asked, what are our wants for USG and Edge Router?
Mm-hmm.
So right now, when you're doing firewall rules from the GUI, and I haven't tried this in the CLI, but right now, when you lock things down, you have to use IP. I'd love to be able to use hostname.
Yeah, for like you mean for like a.
Because here I don't pay for a static IP. And so I have a dynamic DNS name for my home, and I remote into customers. So instead of locking it down to an IP, I'd like to be able to lock it down to, and just have the router look up my host name every time.
Sure.
I'm sure there's a way to do it under the hood, but I really don't want to mess with that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, we are coming up on the 3.5 hour mark, and I am certainly starting to lose steam. So, why don't we try to wrap it up in the next 5-10 minutes? And, first of all, certainly if anyone watched this whole thing, either live or on YouTube, you are a trooper, and thank you so much for not only being subscribers and fans of our channels, but certainly if you can contribute to the community, help other people out, answer their questions, put nice comments on the videos and stuff. We always appreciate that. If you're not subscribed to either of our channels, subscribe. There's a lot of good stuff there. I've got a link to Willie's channel in the description of this this live stream. And this was fun, man.
Yeah, remember, none of us is as dumb as all of us. So I'm just kidding, people. I'm just kidding. No, Chris, I want to thank Chris for hosting this. We started talking about this, I think, back in July?
Yeah, a few months back.
And Chris has reached out to me with a couple things, and I'm pushing things his way, and I think we've got a really great working relationship. Definitely, I appreciate Hector. I see him all over the place. He's doing a great job. Anybody who's in here commenting, this is kind of why I keep going, because there's so much interest and people want to learn. And so thanks to everybody who came out today. And thanks again, Chris, for hosting this. This was fantastic.
Yeah, this was great. Like I said, good talks. And I feel like you and I are the kind of people that could BS about tech nonstop. We could probably fill another 4 hours if we want to do. So maybe we'll do this again soon. If this is something that you guys liked watching, certainly comment down below. And maybe Willie and I can make this happen on a more irregular basis.
And maybe next time, if I can, take all the comments that people have and I can make some changes here, maybe next time I can host, Chris.
Yep. All right, absolutely. Okay, guys. Well, we're gonna shut it down. And thanks again for joining. And I hope you guys all have a great weekend. And for anyone in Europe who is still awake and watching this, go to sleep. God damn it.
And one more quick thing. If you're in the United States, today is Veterans Day. Thank you for your service.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you for your service. Veterans Day. We certainly appreciate it. All right, cool. Well, that's it. Any last words, Willie?
Somebody asked what my YouTube channel was. It's www.youtube.com.
Sorry, we're out of time. I'm sorry, we're out of time.
/Willie Howe with an IE, not a Y.
Yeah, and that link is in the description of this video or this live stream.
Thanks again, Chris.
All right, talk to you later. Bye now.